98.5, the Sports Hub. Easily Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Don't look now. The Red Sox have won 4 of their last 5. They beat Tampa Bay for a second straight night last night, 4-3 at Fenway Park. Marcelo Meyer hit a pair of solo homers to lead the offense.
When you start off swinging the bat really hard, credit to JD for giving us that boost of energy. First pitch of the game, it kind of helps you settle in, and then Walker Buehler did his thing.
Jaron Duran and Abraham Toro added a home run apiece. Walker Buehler went 7 innings for the win. Aroldis Chapman added an 11-pitch save in the ninth. The Sox have tonight off. They'll host the Yankees tomorrow evening. The Celtics' Jaylen Brown underwent minor arthroscopic knee surgery yesterday. He's expected to be a full go for training camp. Indiana beat Oklahoma City 116-107 to take a 2-1 lead in the NBA Finals. Benedict Mathurin scored 27 points off the bench for the winners. They'll host Game 4 tomorrow night. Knicks are looking for a new head coach. They were turned down by Dallas, Atlanta, and Chicago in the last 24 hours after requesting to speak to Jason Kidd, Quinn Snyder, and Billy Donovan about the vacancy. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals will take place tonight in Florida. The Panthers lead Edmonton 2-1. Colorado defenseman Cale Makar won the Norris Trophy. And in golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open begins in less than an hour at Oakmont. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler will tee off at 1:25. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Catches Law. At Catches, they specialize in helping those who have been injured not only from a one-time incident, but from a lifetime of hard work and labors. Does this sound like you? Visit CatchesLaw.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
When breaking sports news happens in Boston,
The news this morning, Marco Sturm,
it happens here.
former Bruin, now current Bruins head coach. The hiring made official today.
Boston's home for breaking sports news and your flagship station for the Boston Bruins all year long. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
When has that been necessary to fact check?
and Hardy
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
on 98.5.
Hey there.
Sarge GPT going up.
Let me hear you say, "Boo! Boo! Boo!"
Crush me, mommy.
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'm a goddamn drag!
Yeah, good luck, dude.
Nothing like a good tushy.
I love you. And I think you know that. Excuse me?
Toucher and Hardy
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun. Having some fun.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go. How to fly indirect, I'll tell you. Flying direct. Because my flight was delayed 2 hours leaving Boston. But who cares?
Right.
Because I'm flying direct. I don't care.
Yeah, you don't have a connection. You don't have nothing to worry about. You're still going to get to where you ultimately want to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, and then who cares? I just can leave the house whenever I want. I don't have to worry about it. Who cares when I get into Detroit? I don't care.
What time did you fly out?
My flight was supposed to be at 5:30. Let's say it left at I got on the plane at 7:30. It left at 8. I got in at 10. Got to the hotel at 11. Who cares? I mean, the only reason I flew out Monday was because I didn't want to screw around on the day of the show.
Yeah.
And I wanted American Coney Island, which it needs to be walked to, which is a half-mile walk from the hotel. Very controversial walk with my daughter.
Why?
Because she had to walk a half a mile.
Oh.
Yeah, very. Even though she walks all around the Newton Center and everything else, but this was. She takes the train now and everything, but takes the train into the city. She walks all around, but she doesn't. This is something very big for her. But we'll get into that. But the article that we had been talking about, you'll have to excuse me because I just read it, as Ryan had printed it out. And then I found it on BostonGlobe.com. The article about our show is up from Chad Finn, and it's a very nice piece. Everything seems to be correct. There is a quote from Rich that seems like it had a lawyer did not touch that. Seems like that was just completely off the dome. And then, but there is an issue, and that is the issue of Adam 12.
And see, I've just gotten to my part of the article, so I've not read this yet.
Yeah, it's very glowing about Hardy and a little dismissive of me. Did you feel that was going to be needed? Did you feel that there was going to be a tone that was overly positive about me, so you needed to step in and say something mean?
I haven't gotten to that part yet. What part are we talking
go
about?
ahead and get to it.
Hold on. All right, let me get off for the next second.
I know what it is. Yep.
Yeah, he's effusive in his praise of you, Hardy, and then very dismissive of me.
The whole story is how everyone's falling all over themselves for you and your Rush Limbaugh with talent on loan from God. That's what 90% of it is about.
Well, certainly Rich's quote's not that like that, and
well, that's part of the other 10%, isn't it?
Yes, and then there's Adam's part.
Who is the?
And my quote about myself's not nice about me. I made a quote about myself that's not particularly nice.
Who is the sleepier of the two of you? You or Hardy? On a regular basis, who comes in sleepier?
Me.
Then what's the problem with the quote? It's accurate.
I didn't say it wasn't accurate.
Okay.
Excuse me. Hello, gaslighting.
He's upset that you said it in the first place.
No. Yeah, that's what it is. But I'm saying let's because I'm trying to find an angle on this to give it to people on the air.
To get mad about.
Oh, now Adam 12, Hardy is kind of taking a bit of a swipe at me. Huh.
Where?
Oh, no, I guess it's not. He brings it back around.
I didn't think that.
Hardy said Adam 12 is a positive person, has infectious energy, but it's very difficult to get infected with energy at 5 o'clock in the morning when we first see each other. But damned if he doesn't try.
So Hardy's talking. This is about how the show came together, which is actually, in all seriousness, Chad's great, and he wrote a great article. So that's up at the Boston Globe. It will be in the Sunday paper, the tactile, physical paper.
You got what you wanted after all, huh?
I did. I honestly.
I'm excited too. To have it on the Sunday paper is a big deal.
People act like they don't care, like when there's a feature written about them, and I don't believe that for 10 seconds. I guess maybe if you're like a big celebrity or something, but it's quite an honor to have a feature, especially given all that this show went through over, in 2023. In 2023, it's a great. I'm very pleased. This is a sort of fairy tale situation, in that I know why Chad wrote the article is because just by blind happenstance, that having nothing to do with John or I or Nick, this whole opportunity came into play. I'm not gonna. I think I can get through this break without. I'll get back to you, Adam. I might need to get back into something to fill the time. But I'm trying to. I don't want to read the article on the air because I want the Boston Globe to get people to read it. But here's the deal: is that through no effort of my own, and some would say even my own failings, this all fell into place. I lost a partner. I didn't have anything to do. I mean, I didn't have anything like it wasn't a Machiavellian plan. I didn't do anything behind the scenes to orchestrate that. And then so that happens. And then I just go. I want Hardy. There was legitimately no other conversation. And then Hardy agrees. He comes on the show. And then through happenstance and Adam's own failings as a program director, he's available. And then Adam, who I've been legit, it gets thrown around a lot, but Adam and I are very good friends. Like I talk to Adam like once a week. I go out with Adam. Adam's a very good friend of mine. And so just by happenstance, and I'm leaving John and Nick out because they're already here, this comes, and then there you go. So now I'm happy because I'm with friends, legit guys that I share like a sense of humor with, and I want to say it like a natural. It's natural, like guys that I feel are a little bit like me. And then, wouldn't you know, people like the show, which is no guarantee. I thought they would, but it's no guarantee. Certainly was not the sentiment when it first came out. Not that people were saying anyone was bad on the show. Just during the purgatory months before Hardy was announced as the hire. I mean, there was all sorts of stories going around, all of them untrue, and not from anyone in the business, but people speculating that I had taken pay cuts and I had, begged for a job and all these things. And, people were quitting and they decided to quit because they couldn't work with me anymore. So they quit. Like, there's a bunch of stuff going on around, and it was all kind of false. But you know what I did? I rode through it, and it was very frustrating for me because I didn't like that all these false narratives were being said. But I've learned my lesson on social media. As had it been 2 years before, I would have gone ballistic on social media, but I didn't. And so I'm very pleased with this story. This is, out of all the stories written about my career, this is probably the most meaningful because of the it clears up, I think, a lot of misconceptions about me at work, and also it's a great story because 3 guys that were friends all happened. I got 2 of my friends on a show, and then wouldn't you know, the ratings in some ways I had never been higher. I guess in terms of level of victory and stuff like that. So there you go. All right, let's get to Adam's very, very, very non-praising comments.
I was going to say venomous statements.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, here's him talking about Hardy. There's nothing he can't do at a high level. You usually don't see that.
True.
Hardy can host and lead. Hardy can co-host and be strong from a second position. Well, I guess things must have been great when I wasn't here.
They're really good shows whenever you're not here, but the last couple of days included. Yeah,
stupendous, really.
Hardy's production skills are elite, and he's able to envision the way the thing is supposed to sound and then bring it to life. And then Hardy it talks about me, but there's nothing from Adam. And then Adam says. Here, and then this is the other thing Adam says. There's 2 things. And Adam's friends with Chad Finn. Or friendly with Chad Finn.
No, we're friends. Yeah.
Okay, friends. Like equals. And he says...
pretty rare.
Knowing these guys for 20 years, from the moment I see them in the morning, I can say, okay, Hardy's a little sleepy today. We'll be working with that, Adam said with a laugh. But usually it's Fred's very sleepy today.
Wow. Interesting.
Usually.
Huh.
So more often than not, the major obstacle in putting this show on the air is you are very sleepy. That's how I read that.
If I'm Joe Q public commenting on this thing, I'm probably thinking that I'm back to drinking. Really, Adam. Thanks a lot.
I haven't even thought to get into the comments on this yet.
Oh,
I won't be doing that at all.
No. No. You have to. Oh, you have to. Oh, the comments on the Globe are the best.
I know.
No, they really are. I can, with all seriousness, say it's not our audience at all.
No.
The people that comment on the Globe are ancient. They are people commenting like Reddit, which I've never really been on Reddit, but Reddit I know are like communities where the design is to kind of be dicks to make each other laugh.
Right.
So, like, I understand that. I'm not on Twitter anymore because I understand that. But the Globe is great. I never, ever, even when I was at my most sensitive, ever cared about the Globe comments. Because the people, they're commenting on a newspaper, on the newspaper site. And if you ever clicked on a name of one of the people that comment, and it's like a public thing, they'll have commented on like 20,000 articles. like what their day is that they'll read something in the Boston Globe and feel like the world needs to see their thoughts on it, and then move on from there. So I do enjoy the Globe comments. In fact, tomorrow we should probably do a short break on the Globe comments because that's where I learned the term moonbat. When I got into Tim Tebow trouble.
That's more of a Harold thing, but yeah, okay.
Oh, no. Harold is like a Howie Carr thing. But I told you guys when I did the Tebow the reason I got in so much heat for the Tebow thing publicly, not through the station at the time didn't care, but because I couldn't get in trouble for it. But the reason I got so much heat is because Imus had recently gotten in trouble for the Syracuse thing, and that was the left attacking him, and so the belief was because I made fun of Tebow that like, well, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So there were all these like right wing sites like taking shots at me, and this was a long time ago before there were so many specialized ones. It was still kind of just the big ones, and I called my dad because I had to have him decipher the language of some of these things because there was a guy on CNN who called me a moonbat.
That's usually for a liberal, right?
Well,
Moonbat
he doesn't
liberal.
have a job anymore because I think he got in an accident drunk driving that hurt someone.
Oh,
The guy, like right after that. But he was real upset at me. And so I called my dad. I go, "What's a moonbat?" I go, "Is this I think that because he was on CNN, I figured moonbat was a positive term for right-wing people, but he was saying it negatively because he was on CNN, which is left-leaning. And my dad was like, "Oh no,
it's 180 degrees the other way.
It's like the N-word for us. Like, like you can't say it. You call someone a moonbat. That's the third rail, my friend.
I love that your dad is like Urban Dictionary, but for conservative conservative slang.
That's a good point, 12.
It's like, what does this mean?
Wait a minute.
But I was because I thought it's funny because my dad obviously didn't think the Tim Tebow thing was a bad.
Yeah.
He didn't think it was a bad thing. Like my dad wasn't like, "Oh, you jerk off." Like no, my dad thought it was funny, even though it was. The thing that bothered me is it wasn't a particularly funny joke, which is always what you want when there is a controversy. At least to have a tinge of humor to it. But I called my dad because I was kind of excited. I was like, "You're going to be excited because CNN was blasting me." So, you know, I thought that would make him happy.
Yeah.
And then so I thought moonbat would be like a derogatory term that the left uses against the right or something like that. But then my dad said, no, the guy that was harping on you is a right-wing guy, and moonbat is the very bad term.
That's the worst thing you can be.
Well, I have good news and bad news. There's one comment on the story so far from 5:22 this morning. It's 22 minutes after it hit Globe.com. Fred is the man, but there's one dislike on that comment. So you take the good with the bad.
Well, I mean, that's life.
yin and the yang.
You know, I mean,
You know?
you can't please everyone. I mean, for everyone, there's Fred's the man. There is an old man calling for Eddie Andelman to be back on the air, which I guarantee you.
That's going to come up in the comments. For
Guarantee
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Guarantee you.
Well, yeah. So there's going to be that. There's going to be this. There's going to be a lot of stick to sports. They don't talk about enough sports. There's going to be a lot of that. Oh, they're on a sports talk station.
Yeah, but
you wouldn't know by listening to them.
But that's everything. No, the funny ones are like bring back Eddie Andelman because that literally happens. Like that will for sure be under it.
Yep.
Like some, and then something like about like you know. Like this article, right? And then it will be just this article about this radio show, and it will be like the Globe, you know, leave it to the Globe. They line about Trump or something like that, and it will be like under our article.
Right.
That's what I enjoy about it.
We'll keep track of the comments. We'll see how many comments it takes before someone mentions not just politics specifically, but Trump.
Yeah, and in
Trump
no relation to the
Trump
show.
will get mentioned in
Three. Two. He's read one. It'll take two more for that to
and
happen.
you have to understand, it will have nothing to do with the article. It will just be a blind attack on the Globe for their what they.
How can you write an article about all of these leftists? How can you do that kind of thing?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very people act too cool for it, but I would hope you guys are too, because I mean I would hope that even more for you guys that I would hope that you would take great pleasure in a positive feature about the show in the paper of record, really, because it speaks highly of you guys. So
no, it's a good article. It's accurate. And what did I say to you before we started? Chad didn't gloss over. You sound like you. No one was misquoted. Everyone was quoted accurately.
Yeah, I never worried about it. You guys know I never worried about it.
No. So yes, good for Chad. It was a very good article.
And there is a quote from Rich if you're looking for that.
Yep.
It makes him look great. Couldn't make him look better. His instincts are still there. He's still got it. Good for him. He comes off beautifully. Ugh.
That's something else that never gets old. For me, anyway. I can't speak for the rest of the show.
I don't even.
Every time you hit that, I chuckle.
And I don't
Every time.
badmouth them at all in the article. There's only I don't even mention them by name in the article. I just say everyone management concurs with me about the thing. You can read it yourself, but he's got a pretty quasi legal statement up there. So good for him. Good for him. That's good stuff. He's still got it. All right, look, we will be back. I am back. I have a big 2-day week. It's very exciting. We'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
them right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
Kind of looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Hardy, what's going down?
Let me ask you a question. Are the Red Sox on a roll right now? I mean, they going into last night's game, they had won 4 of their previous 6, 3 of the previous 4. They had picked up a win against L.A. They won the series against New York. I'm like, They had split the first 2 with Tampa, and they have a very good record, oddly enough, in rubber matches this season.
In what matches?
Rubber match.
Oh.
Rubber match.
Got it.
You split the first 2 of a 3-game set, and I don't know, maybe you got Walker Buehler towing the rubber in the rubber match last night.
Look at you.
John?
Look at you.
I mean, are they rolling right now or what? The answer to my question came pretty early on last night in the bottom of the first.
Swinging a high fly ball. That's deep to right field. Low is back. He's at the bullpen. See you later. It's gone. How about that? In attack mode, Jaron Duran, his 5th home run of the season. First pitch, goodbye. And the Red Sox lead it 1-0.
I'm not surprised it was first pitch. If you've watched Jaron Duran hit, he swings at everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything.
Well, sometimes
pitches over his head, pitches in the dirt, pitches outside. Doesn't wait around.
Yeah, he's rolling too.
He's like Vlad Guerrero Sr.
He is. He is, except he's not nearly as good a bad ball hitter.
He uses a tree trunk bat. That was Vlad Guerrero Sr. was the best. He just used like a 45-foot bat.
Bad ball.
Like seriously, like a 45-inch bat. Weighed 2 pounds.
And when we say he swung at everything, he swung at everything. Pitches that bounced before they got to the plate. That was Vlad.
He weighed like 10 pounds. He
Yeah.
would get a 46-inch bat that weighed like 10 pounds. He would just, he had a trunk of a tree and he would just swing and he could reach everything. He had to suck so bad to pitch to because you just try to avoid the strike zone. He didn't care. And he was so strong, he just hit it off the end of the bat.
Still go out of the ballpark.
Still go out of the ballpark.
Yep.
Well, the Rays would answer in the second inning, and what would the Red Sox answer to that be? The man that John Wallach, for 2 days in a row, called Marcelo Mayer. He just can't get it through his bird skull. Say it, John.
Marcelo Meyer.
Meyer would answer once again.
There's a swing. There's a drive. Down into that corner again. Yes, sir. His second one of the ball game. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And the Red Sox lead it 3-1 on 3 solo home runs.
So after homering in the second, Marcelo Meyer would homer again in the fourth to make it 3-1. And then the Red Sox would have to rely on their pitching.
2-2. Swing and a miss, struck him out with the bases loaded and leaves him that way. Red Sox still up 4-3 in the middle of the 8th.
Greg Weissert there retiring the side in the 8th inning.
How about the Red Sox try to hit home run with runners on base with these solo home runs? Jerk offs. It's easy for Meyer. Ooh, no one's on base.
Yeah.
Now swing for the fences.
Why you got to take this away from Freddie? There's nothing like it.
I mean, it's always better to hit a homer at home compared to on the road. I'd much rather get cheered than booed. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
One of them was to right field, doesn't count.
This place, I love the energy that Fenway Park brings. So it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I could hit a home run there.
Listen to him at the end of that too. It's so awesome. Something I'll remember the rest of my life.
I mean, it's always better to hit a homer at home compared to on the road. I'd much rather get cheered than booed. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I love this place. I love the energy that Fenway Park brings. So it's something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
It reminds me of Apollo 13. Remember, we're excited, proud, and thrilled.
That's right.
I'm very excited, very proud, and of course we're thrilled.
Well, in all seriousness, you have to be excited if you're a Red Sox fan, whatever, with this season. Look, if they hover around 500 for long enough, there's 3 wild card spots. You can see what you want to do. But now that everyone's up, even though I'm not sure Campbell should be, but now that everyone's up, because you can send a guy back to the minors when it's this early in their career. There's this notion that it's incredibly damaging, but I don't think that's as a rule true. But all right, I mean, it's, at a certain point you got to give a guy a break. But nonetheless, with Anthony and Meyer being up and even Christian Campbell being up, this is what you've been waiting for. They kept these chips. They didn't trade them, and now they're part of it. I would like to see them all playing, I would like to see Meyer playing short because that's part of the reason they drafted him when they drafted him and part of the reason he was such an elite talent.
The Red Sox have not treated these guys well. I mean, Meyer has to play third. Campbell played second, center, and left. They had him taking ground balls at first, and you saw that was in the middle of his horrific slump. And by the way, Campbell's bat has come around the last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
He's hitting, I think he's raised his batting average 10 or 15 points the last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
So he's hitting well now. He's kind of come out of whatever tailspin he was in. So I don't know if you want to send him back.
No, I'm just saying
and
that.
then Roman Anthony, a center and a left fielder, you have him playing the most difficult right field in the majors.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're going to bring these kids up, have them play the positions they're used to ease the transition. I mean, I think that's appropriate. And Alex Cora and the Red Sox have gone on and on saying, well, we're not going to promote Roman Anthony until he can play every day. Well, he's playing every day now, but what do you do when Wilyer Abreu comes off the injured list next week? I mean, I don't know how you move the chess pieces around. I mean, right now it seems as though they're going to do a strict platoon and not have Meyer and Anthony face left-handed pitching. Well, that's fine, except the Yankees are throwing 3 lefties Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So what do you do there?
That's interesting. So they're platooning. The idea is
that's the plan.
Platoon Meyer and Anthony. They called them up to platoon them.
Yes, that's what it looks like. At least right now. We'll see this weekend if they stay. I mean, 3 days of sitting is a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if they're going to stick to that. But the Yankees have their 2 best pitchers. They avoided Fried last week. The Red Sox did, but they're not going to avoid him this weekend.
You want to talk about something that's difficult? Platooning is difficult.
Yeah.
That's a reason the guys sticking around that can platoon, you'll see guys you go, he's a career 260 hitter, or a 250 hitter. Why? Because they have the ability to, sit out numerous games, then come in and be effective. That's very difficult to ask from a guy, especially a 21-year-old.
Cora's excuse is Romy Gonzalez and Rob Refsnyder, who we've talked about before, hit lefties very well. And they do. They do hit lefties very well. They are the perfect platoon players, but the problem is I don't think you platoon guys like this. The object is to develop these kids as quickly as possible so they can be everyday players.
Well, okay, let's just take it as simple as you can. What is the purpose of the minor leagues?
To get these kids ready for Major League Baseball day in, day out, and when they get here, make sure they are as close to everyday players as possible.
And then why did Meyer and Anthony not come up until when they did? And it's not because they weren't talented enough. It was because they needed at-bats. They needed to play every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say this, and if I'm wrong, feel free to attack me, anyone listening. But generally with elite prospects, you bring them up to play every day. The reason you wait is you bring them up when you know they're going to play every day because you're throwing them in there and getting them used to the grind. And also from a hitter's standpoint, it's very difficult not to hit for a couple days, then come back in and be effective. We forget these are people. We forget how young they are. And, the difference between AAA pitching and Major League pitching is astronomical. So to get used to Major League pitching, you want them to get those at-bats in. So this is being run very interesting. But anyway, if you're a fan, it's got to be fun seeing these guys finally. And there you go.
As a Red Sox fan, I want to see these kids play every day because this team isn't going anywhere. They're going to win 77, 80, 82 games, whatever it is. They may be sniffing around the edges of a playoff spot in August, but I want to see these kids play every day. That's the reason for me to go to the ballpark. And the catcher is pretty good, too. The cleanup hitter Narvaez, what a great deal that was from the Yankees. So you have 4 young kids that you can build around here. And then when Bregman gets back, maybe you have something. But I don't like the platoon at all. I hate it.
So after not playing the Yankees for the first 2+ months of the season, they had the series that the Red Sox won prior to this Rays series. They will go again against the Yankees starting tomorrow night in the first of a
And the Yankees have Fried on Saturday and Rodon Sunday, or the reverse. But those two guys pitch against the Red Sox this time around. You avoided Fried last weekend, but he has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. You have to face him this weekend.
All right. NBA Finals continued last night. Oklahoma City and the Indiana Pacers are all set to tip off in felt like a Game 4 last night. That's right, OKC with the 2-1 series lead. Would there be a cha-ching Thunder money ball early on in this one?
Down the lane burst Wallace, kicks right corner Dort, sets his feet, squares his shoulders, and rips the cords for three. Cha-ching a Thunder money ball. Casing created it. Dort cashes it in. It's 13-6 Thunder.
It's almost
rips
cruel.
the cord. Jesus, it's 1957.
It's almost cruel.
Hold the string.
Almost cruel. Well, there's all these World War II vets are back, and so, a lot of them were paratroopers. So,
look at that little doughboy running up and down the court.
Yeah, exactly. This guy stormed the beaches in Normandy. Give him a break. But it's almost cruel to indulge his OCD at this point. Someone needs to step in and get him help. That he has to say, cha-ching, the Thunder money ball. I have almost no rooting interest in this at all. I usually, just by watching something, I don't like Halliburton that much. Maybe I would go with OKC. But this announcer, hearing him disappointed might put me over the top for Indiana. Now, am I going to stay up and watch these weeknight games, or if it's a Saturday night, stay home to watch them? No.
There were 15 ties in this game, okay? To put this in perspective, how many ties were there throughout the entire series last year between the Celtics and the Mavericks?
I'm going to say 5.
13.
Oh, really?
There were 15 ties last night, back and forth. I mean, it was a great back and forth game score-wise. A little sloppy with the Oklahoma City turnovers. I believe they turned the ball over 19 times. That led to 21 points for the Pacers. But the ties back and forth, something we didn't get in last year's finals. It was the Celtics, jumping out to leads and rarely surrendering them, even early on in the game. This last night was not the case. As a matter of fact, Oklahoma City with a 5-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and that's when Indiana turned it on.
He's got the ball now. Right edge of the arc. Here comes a three. Halliburton with 22 points. Timeout, Oklahoma City.
Tyrese Halliburton in the second half last night, specifically third quarter and then in the fourth quarter, taking shots that you and again, my rooting interest in this, Fred, is based solely on the fact that I couldn't understand why Indiana was such a lopsided underdog in this. And I bet on the Pacers just outright to win the series because I got such a good price on it. So that's my only rooting interest. But watching Tyrese Halliburton decide to take some of these shots, I'm like, Jesus, kid, what are you doing? Don't take that. Oh, he made it.
Yeah. Well, that's the NBA in general these days.
And it's again, it's nothing specific for Halliburton.
Yeah.
But the fact that he continues to do it throughout these playoffs, and he was doing it again last night, that made me happy.
I'll tell you, I guess Game 3, if it's 1-1, the winner of Game 3 wins the series
80% of the time.
80-some-odd% of the time.
Yes,
So,
80% of the time. Oklahoma City, 68-14, as we mentioned before we got to this series. They had not lost to an Eastern Conference team since early January. And here we are. Indiana playing much better than I thought they would. Oklahoma City is such an elite defensive team, and they got outscored 32-18 in the fourth quarter.
So, and of course, that is the story of the game. Just at the end here, it wasn't all, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton.
Siakam defends. He drives to the left wing, and from there, misfires. Rebound, Nembhard after it. He got it, sends it to Halliburton. Up the floor to Siakam. He'll take it in.
Siakam last night. Let me grab the box right here, unless you know it off the top of your
21
head.
points.
21 points for the man who didn't start playing basketball until he was an adult.
Yeah.
He's like 17, 18 years old before he picked up a basketball.
Yeah, Oklahoma City gave up 40 points in the second quarter, too. Everything has changed. You mentioned Oklahoma City was leading after the third quarter. Oklahoma City, up until this series, was 61-2 when they had a lead entering the fourth quarter. In this series, they are 1-2 when leading in the fourth quarter.
Right. Indiana's got some weird kind of mojo. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Marcelo Meyer hit a pair of solo homers. Red Sox beat Tampa Bay 4-3 at Fenway Park last night. They take 2 out of 3 from the Rays. They have tonight off. They'll host the Yankees tomorrow evening. In basketball news, the Celtics' Jaylen Brown underwent minor knee surgery yesterday. He's expected to be ready for training camp. As we were just talking about, Indiana beat Oklahoma City last night 116-107. They lead the NBA Finals 2-1. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight in Florida. Brad Marchand and the Panthers lead Edmonton 2-1. And in golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open will begin in about 4 minutes in suburban Pittsburgh. Scotty Scheffler will tee off at 1:25. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Hardy, Charlie McAvoy, and Tuukka Rask. Call 1-800-GET-HAIR for your free consultation. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, he's his upbringing is tragic, and the way he had to deal with all that stuff I have respect for the man. I'm just not a Beach Boys fan. Like, I didn't like.
Just not for you.
I don't like Pet Sounds. Like, I don't think it's like a terrible piece of art, but it doesn't hit me the same way. But she was so scared I was going to do something to Brian Wilson, and at the time, maybe that was a fair thing. Yes, John.
How old was he at this point?
Okay,
so he was in his 60s, but I was
at the Grammys,
yeah.
so it must have been like, and people were still going to the Grammys, and I was with the morning show, and it wasn't Wally, so there was probably 2003, 2004.
So he's around 60 at this
yeah,
point.
And
was he all there or not?
Oh, Jonathan. No.
Okay.
No.
As I was saying, 82 is lived a full life, but he had really lost a lot of his faculties.
Well, he had just released Smile, like that album, the infamous Smile that everyone was into. I can do an imitation of it, but that based on the fact he recently died, I will not do an imitation of him telling us about Smile. I can't off the air. It amuses me to no end.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite things I do. In my own brain,
yes.
Because I have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it as well, and I also agree that this.
No,
is
I won't do it now. Now is not the time.
But please do it for us at the post show because I love the story.
But if you told me, that's why when you say tragic, I take a little bit of umbrage to that, because if you would have told me in 2003 that this guy had 22 years left in him, I would have been like, oh boy.
Look, I saw him with my dad. We went to see him.
He played 22 years.
Yeah,
not fun.
He played with the Pops. I want to say this is 2017, and he needed a handler to get him out on stage. I mean, he could but here's the thing. They walk him out on stage, and he looks so frail and confused. And then as soon as he sits down at the piano, it's like a switch flips. And he just, for the next hour and a half, is locked in, playing music with the band, just incredible. And then the switch flips off at the end, and they help him back up, and he kind of totters back off the stage.
And that is not just entirely unique to him. It's something that is inherent in some people. Like that. There's people with, and Adam, maybe you can speak to this. I don't know if it's autism or what the diagnosis would be, but that are fairly like it's hard for them to function. But then if you put them at a piano, they can like go crazy on it, like just like off the top of their
There
head.
absolutely is stuff like that in the autism world, and like you talk about like preferred topics or preferred activities, like,
right?
Especially for kids, like they've got no interest in anything except for this one thing, and when they do this one thing, they are completely dedicated to it and completely engaged in it.
The other thing, I remember my grandfather died of Alzheimer's when I was young, but that was the thing. You couldn't deal with him around the house, but you get him out on a tennis court. He would play 2 sets of tennis, and it looked like him when he was younger. But then as soon as he gets off the court and you get him in the car, it's an entirely different situation. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and the problem is with me is that there's nothing like that with me. So there will be no situation my children will be able to put me in. Where
you have nothing that just you do almost on a like an intrinsic molecular level.
No, I have nothing. I have nothing that I enjoy. So I mean, I don't know what they're going to put me in. I don't know what they're going to put me in. I don't know how they're going to get me into any scenario where that happens. No, he wasn't with it, but he was real nice. Like there was nothing for me to do, even if I wanted. Which I didn't have any intention of, but even if I wanted to be kind of like a jerk during the interview, I even needed like a little bit of a push to do that even back then. But he was perfectly nice. Like he was like a nice guy and respectful, and didn't act like a star or anything. But I mean, he was real out of it. It's a miracle that he lived as long as he is, as a matter of fact. I would not describe it as tragic at all. I would say it's good for him. And he overcame that father of his, and his brothers were all dicks to him. Like everyone was mistreated him. If you don't know, obviously he's like a musical genius in that and like Adam said, you get him in a studio and he was able to do all these things and able to create, and no one of the other people in the band who were relatives, none of them, they were good at hanging out with Manson, but they weren't so great at, Dennis Wilson, famously very close to Charles Manson. And so, but the other guys just took advantage of him, and everyone taking advantage of him. And then the crowning achievement was the Bare Naked Ladies.
Exactly. That's when it all came to fruition.
Yeah, that's when he got inspired to release Smile, was after the Bare Naked Ladies did a song about him.
So there's a great documentary called The Wrecking Crew, which is about a group of studio musicians. And it was just like a different time. These people would show up to work every day like a 9-to-5 gig, just go to the studio and say like, all right, what do we got today? And they played on everybody's records, from rock and roll to jazz to Nancy Sinatra. But watching that documentary and hearing them talking about the Beach Boys, when it was time to, what do we have today? Oh, Brian Wilson's coming in. They'd be like, oh, great, awesome, because they knew that it was going to be something weird and artistic, and something that he would have a vision and they would have some input on, but it wasn't going to be just another 3-minute completely pedestrian song that they were somehow going to be tasked with making great. They were going to be brought greatness, and they were going to be able to be a part of it. And the bass player, I don't know the woman's name, but she played bass on I don't know how many records in the 60s as part of this studio musician group called the Wrecking Crew. She played on a lot of this Beach Boys stuff. It was
Carol Kay.
Carol Kay, thank you, Twelve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's, there's a ton of Beach Boys stuff out there, but that's a little inside one too that I didn't know. I just assumed, I think a lot of people assumed that these bands and groups in the 60s, they had bands. Like, no, they had essentially a few sets of musicians, one in London, one in New York, and one in L.A., and they played on everybody's records, and the Beach Boys included.
All right, and as we will explore later, Saxon used them to know they were not ashamed to use them, as did Triumph on many occasions. Eddie Trunk had Triumph on the other day for two some odd hours. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Red Sox beat Tampa Bay again last night, 4-3 at Fenway Park. Abraham Toro's solo homer in the 7th inning snapped the 3-3 tie. Marcelo Meyer added a pair of solo homers in the win. Sox have won 4 out of 5. They'll host the Yankees tomorrow night. In basketball news, the Celtics' Jaylen Brown underwent what the team is calling successful right knee arthroscopic debridement procedures. He's expected to be ready for training camp. Indiana beat Oklahoma City last night, 116-107. They lead the NBA Finals 2-1. The Knicks were denied permission by Chicago to speak to head coach Billy Donovan about their head coaching vacancy. This was less than 24 hours after both Dallas and Atlanta also rejected their requests. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight in Florida. The Panthers lead Edmonton 2-1. And in golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open just underway at this hour in Oakmont. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Wilbur Theater. Comedian John Mulaney is coming to the Wing Theater at the Box Center Saturday, September 27th, with a 5th show added due to overwhelming demand. Visit Ticketmaster.com for details. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian!
This is Boston's Home for Sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Is elongating.
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
Is that an aura ring or anything else? That wedding ring? Anything?
Yeah, it's a wedding ring.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long ago?
It's been a couple months.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Bert Breer is the senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for MMQB, part of the Amazon Thursday night team. He can be seen right here on YouTube. If you subscribe to 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube, then that would be of great assistance to us here. Bert, hello.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Bert.
You guys happy for Aaron?
Yeah.
Over the moon, excited.
Do you
This
know
is
who
awesome.
he's engaged to, or who he's married to?
Yeah, is he married or he's married?
He's married.
Blue of Earth? Is that the lucky girl?
I don't know. I legitimately don't know.
How do you not know? Why are you here?
What do you do all day?
Jesus.
I know his girlfriend was part of the now wife was part of the personal reasons for staying away. There was also some more serious stuff there, but he yeah. So that was part of.
He had to get married, so he skipped OTAs.
Yeah, but
decided
I don't
not
know.
to sign.
I honestly I wish I could give you guys more information on his wife. I don't really
all
know
this
much.
audio and everything, Bert. You've
I
blown the
know.
first
I
segment.
blew it.
Jesus.
Well, yeah. So anyway, he is married. You see this article about us, Bert, in the Boston Globe?
I was looking for it Tuesday actually because it was promised Tuesday, and then I couldn't find it.
No,
can I take this home with me?
Yeah, sure.
You take that home.
Make it your own.
Is this a takedown by Chad Finn?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
That's
a hit
exactly
piece.
what it is.
It's a hit piece.
Yeah.
Is
Thought
the way to
you
describe
thought
it.
you were going to get something nice in the paper, and then kind of
Yeah, you newspaper guys. Jesus Christ.
came up behind you
You
and
sneak around.
Now
bunch of unnamed
stabbing
sources,
people
bunch
in
of
the
unnamed
back.
sources killing you guys in there.
Yeah.
No,
it's an open source. There's a direct quote in there from him. So.
Oh,
yeah.
there is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. Well played by him. So it sounds like a lawyer vomited it up. All right. Okay, we talked about it last time you were here. Mike Tannenbaum, who doesn't usually he's not overly critical. Tannenbaum, used to be a GM.
This was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So he was the GM for the Jets, and he's not one of these. He's one of these guys that maybe to a fault doesn't have strong opinions, like negative opinions,
because he might be working for somebody again.
Yeah. Well, he was part of the hiring process that the Jets did for the coach and GM. So they had brought him in.
He was like the consultant, basically. Yeah.
Right. Like he has like a team, right? Like he has a company.
So he has the company called the 33rd Team, which is like, I don't know like a consortium of ex-NFL coaches, general managers that so initially they had a media business, and now what they're trying to do is they've been working on kind of like launching this consulting wing to help teams. And so Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman, basically as part of the 33rd Team, went to work for the Jets to help them with their search in January, and then Spielman wound up working for the Jets.
Okay. So Tannenbaum had said
full time, like he took a job outside, like after the whole thing was done.
Sure. So Tannenbaum said that the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers would be irrelevant by Thanksgiving,
which was interesting, and I do wonder if there's some loyalty to Woody there. When you go like through the Jets organization, it is interesting that Aaron still has some friends there, right? Like so. As far as the guys he worked with, he's still relatively close with Robert Saleh. He's still relatively close with Christopher Johnson, Woody's brother. He's still got a good relationship with the team president, Jaime Elhai. The guy he didn't get along with very well was Woody. And so, I think, like, Aaron, I think you might agree with him on this. Like, he holds Woody, like, Aaron, like, looks at, like, Woody being responsible for a lot of the circus elements that kind of were, that have been there and that were there when he was there. So, I think maybe to some degree, maybe this is Mike taking up for Woody a little bit.
Okay.
And, I mean, Mike probably being at least some witness to the messy breakup when the two guys that Mike helped pick had the run-in with him in January.
Okay, but that's a dangerous thing for Tannenbaum to do, because if he's in the business, like you hear people stick up for people, like Bill Simmons sticking up for Bill Belichick, but in Lombardi for years, but it was more like these guys are clowns, Belichick's the greatest. This is like a kind of a prediction of how a team's going to do.
Right.
And so that, to me, like, I don't doubt that he's holding the water for Woody Johnson a little bit because he worked for him. Mm-hmm. But it's a dangerous thing when you're in the business of being an expert analyst to then, it wasn't just that Aaron Rodgers is bad for a team.
Maybe he really does feel that way. Like, that's
right.
I can't crawl inside Mike's head. But
but don't you agree that if my job is to be an NFL expert, like, I might say Aaron Rodgers, he could say, like, look, Aaron Rodgers is a really disruptive force for a team. Aaron Rodgers is they're playing with fire. But to go, they're going to be irrelevant by November is a prognostication on the performance of the team.
That team.
Right.
Because that team is
never out of it.
They're never out of it like in November.
Right. They make the playoffs every year.
Right.
The problem is they can't win.
Right. Like, so, like, this is as much as anything. Like, this is a prediction that Aaron's going to make them worse. Right. I mean, it is. That's what it is. Like,
it is.
Like, in November, they were. Last year, I think they were 9-2 or something like that, weren't they? I mean, you can look it up, but, like, I think they were.
Sure.
They were one of the best teams in the league, like, in November last year. So if you're saying they're going to be irrelevant by November, like, you're saying they're going to be worse. Now, I don't believe that, like, because I think the reason Aaron picked Pittsburgh is because what the Giants were going to ask Aaron Rodgers to do was very similar to what the Jets were asking him to do, which was, we have a talented young core of players, and we want you to lift them up. The Steelers are asking him to jump on a moving train.
Okay, can I just stop you there? Because you're saying Aaron chose that. Some people are writing that Aaron was forced into this because the Giants didn't really want him.
The Giants didn't want to wait.
And then Minnesota didn't want him.
Minnesota's correct. The Giants, it was more the Giants reading tea leaves and being like, if we wait, we're going to finish second. So we have to move now.
Okay.
And I think Aaron was at least to some degree honest with them. But, I don't like. I think the Giants basically were in a position where it was like, yeah, we can sit and wait here and we can keep pursuing him, or with people's jobs on the line, and then, like, God, do we have egg on our face if we finish second in the Aaron Rodgers Derby and we don't have the quarterback position taken care of, or we can start taking care of it now. Like, the Giants was more not willing to wait. Look, like, he had conversations with Kevin O'Connell. I feel like the tenor of those conversations were, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but, like, the tenor of those conversations were probably more along the lines of, like, he was willing to go there because it was a great situation.
Ready-made, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great situation. And I don't think anybody would fault Aaron Rodgers for looking at that as the very best situation. He's got a relationship again with the head coach already. He's got, if you go there, you're throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson, and you've got a good defense. They've been in the playoffs. They won 14 games last year. I mean, I don't know. I think I think you could argue it's the best situation for a quarterback in the league, right? Like if you take the quarterback out of every team in the league, like I think you could argue that Minnesota has the best quarterbacks, the best situation for a quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, because of the coach and the offensive talent,
right?
Okay,
I mean, you're throwing to the best receiver in football. You have one of probably the 5 best offensive minds as your head coach. They won 14 games last year. They've got a good defense. Like it's a really good situation.
Okay, so we'll get to the Patriots coming up next break, but there are players that are holding out now. There's players that have skipped out on.
Cincinnati has the worst problem. Cincinnati is missing their top pass rusher and their number 1 draft pick because they apparently changed the language on him.
Yeah, so it's the kid from Texas A&M that didn't do anything at Texas A&M that everyone was scared of because he couldn't produce on the field. And
Built like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
Yeah, exactly. And he apparently has attitude problems too, which are being kind of shown now. Did they whiff on this pick?
No, I don't think so. This is probably bore everybody to hear this, but this is one of those where it's like it's important for the team because they're trying to set a precedent on default language on guarantees for the entire roster. Because if they give in on this, then some veteran player is going to want similar language in his contract. And then on the player side, it's like the player, for his pride, doesn't want to get screwed, right? And then the agent, it's going to be used against him in recruiting if he loses that battle. So that's really what this is about. And generally these things get worked out unless all of a sudden then it turns into a territory battle, which is sort of what it's become now, and it's gotten really ugly. And, does the team want to set a precedent now, an additional precedent now of bending and breaking when a rookie sits out spring drills, which never happens, by the way. A lot of these guys start practicing in the spring. Now, they won't practice in the summer without a contract, but these guys practice routinely in the spring.
Travis Hunter, by the way, isn't signed and is there, correct?
And they sign an agreement, a waiver that makes it so if they get hurt, the team still has to pay them and everything else. And so that's normal. So this is this is a weird situation. It's also not a great look when, like you said, Fred, all right, one of your 5 best players, the guy who's had 35 sacks the last 2 years, is in the third offseason of a contract dispute, and you draft the guy who, is going to eventually replace him, and now he's in a contract dispute too.
Yeah, the Cincinnati's a terrible organization. All right, so the Dolphins are a team that intrigues me. They're looking to trade Jalen Ramsey. Mm-hmm. Are they, Patriots division, so it has something to do with the Patriots. Are they looking to win this year?
I think they're quietly rebuilding.
Okay.
I think they're quietly resetting their roster. The scary thing to me about this, so Teron Armstead was their left tackle the last couple of years. They're going to be now he retired. They're going to be relying on a second round pick from a year ago. It's kind of a scary thing. And Patrick Paul. Tyreek Hill, I think Tyreek Hill can be had. If you came to them with a first or a second round pick, I think you could probably get him. Jalen Ramsey's going to be moved. They're older in a lot of different positions. I think this is the beginning of a subtle reset. The tough thing I think for them is now it's you're going to maybe find out if Tua can actually carry a team. And I'm not sure that he can. And so that's what's interesting about this to me is eventually when you pay a quarterback like that, you're going to have to come to the point where he's going to have to make up for some things you're missing on your roster because of how much you're paying him. And I think now the Dolphins are coming to that point. Can Tua be that guy?
Could they be the worst team in the East?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I would say the Jets have the second best roster in the East.
I think the Jets I think the Jets are going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll be more competitive than last year, just based on the fact that Rodgers can't move his body. Just based on that, even if Fields just runs.
But I don't think they don't need Fields to be a superhero.
That's what I'm saying. Is even if Fields his explosive plays are all running plays, I'm fine with that. If he dinks and dunks and just runs, but whatever.
I had this argument on TV last night. I'm so the guys that make it to free agency are by definition not core players. So you went nuts in free agency. How many of the guys that you signed in free agency are actually core players, right? Or were core players for their other teams?
Yeah, well, we've been over this. Yeah, like when you go
None.
nuts in free agency, you're getting players that teams have
Right.
chosen not to spend their money on.
Right. Whereas like the Jets have, and I'll go down the list, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Quincy Williams, Breece Hall, Olu Fashanu. Those guys are all like core players,
Right.
homegrown core players. And so I don't know, like but that's where we had the whole argument about how good the Patriots are going to be this year, right? It's like, okay, like, so you, and this is going to be the fifth time I've said this to you guys, but it's like the Raiders and Panthers see the same opportunity in playing you as you see in playing them. And I like this idea that you're going to just sweep all those teams, I think is crazy.
You're leaving something out. 2 years ago, that would have been an automatic loss for this team. We have progressed to the point now where
Right.
we think the Patriots think they can actually beat these teams.
Right, and like I think if like let's say there are 8 of those games. I think if you go 5-3 in those games, that's great. You know what I mean?
And that's
Like,
remarkable considering where this team was 9 months ago.
Right, and I think like it's you've gotten yourself. I think what they did in free agency is like they've gotten themselves to level ground at a lot of positions, right? Like so, like that's good. But does that make you a playoff team in the AFC? Like,
No.
and that's my whole thing is like, if you look at the contenders in the AFC, and we can go through any of them, you can pick out like 5 core players where you're like, yeah, that is the core of their team. I look at it like who are the Patriots' core players right now? It's Drake May, who we still don't know.
Who's
on.
a second-year guy, and there's a ton of question marks.
It's
right?
Christian Gonzalez, who I'd say we probably do know on now. Like
Okay.
he's a really good player. I think he's probably a Pro Bowl level player. Like you hit on one there, and Will Campbell, who you have no idea.
Barmore,
right, and Barmore, who's coming back off the blood clots.
Mm-hmm.
Milton Williams, I think, we'll see. Now he's played really well, but like he wasn't even really a starter in Philly, right? Like it was Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. So, like that's the thing about it is like I look at like them. The idea was to get yourself to a competitive level at a bunch of different positions, and I just wonder how many people are getting over their skis on this and thinking, well, now everything's fixed. If you're looking at doing what Washington did last year, which we've compared those two a lot, right? You need Drake May to play like Jaden Daniels did. Because that's how that happened.
Right.
You
A lot of pressure on Drake May.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of pressure. Again, if he, last year it was, wow, he's really athletic and wow, he can make that throw on the run and da-da-da-da-da. But now you know that.
Yeah.
So now it's time to not turn the ball over. Now it's time to, win games.
Well, and it flips too, because it's like you think about it like C.J. Stroud, right? So, and I made this argument before. People look at like last year as like a complete failure for C.J. Stroud, right? They were down by 1 point going into the fourth quarter at Arrowhead in the divisional round of the playoffs, and I think it kind of shows you how like it's the bar for guys. You know what I mean? Like the bar was so high for C.J. Stroud in year 2 that a good, not great year looked like, whoa, what happened to him? So I think it's kind of like a example of how expectations can kind of color what we're looking at. Our expectations were so low for Drake May last year because, rightfully so, we gave him excuses. He's got a first-year head coach, a first-year offensive coordinator. There's no talent on that side of the ball. The offensive line's a dumpster fire. All of that was valid, right?
And now people are picking you to make the playoffs. All right, we'll get more into it. We have you for an hour. We'll be back in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Touch Around.
perform list. It saves you a roster spot. And then teams will generally do that, like with players who are coming back from this serious an injury, because it allows you the flexibility if something goes wrong, where you can still start them during the season on PUP. So, my guess would be they start him there, and then he's cleared at some point during training camp. And I think week 1's a realistic target. I know a lot of people made a lot out of the contract. I actually, the TV producers yesterday asked me, so I kind of went through the contract. There is an injury waiver in it, which I think this is kind of like what everybody's been getting at. So he's got a $12 million signing bonus. And there are things about him passing a physical to get to be entitled to the guarantees in the contract, right? So part of the guaranteed money is the signing bonus. But $4 million of the signing bonus has already been paid out. Because if you look at the structure of the signing bonus, some of it's deferred. So I believe the dates are, the first one's $4 million within 2 weeks of the execution of the contract, which was in March. Another $4 million on Halloween. And then another $4 million next March. Which is normal, the way that these things get deferred out and everything else. Again, there's an injury waiver in the contract that's specific to his right knee, which basically reads that the team can basically, his guarantees are null and void, so they could go back after his signing bonus if there's any deterioration of the knee. So I think where people have been like looking at it, saying, there's like the opening until he passes a physical. The way I read the contract, I think it would take his knee deteriorating. Where it's a protection that the team sought and got in the contract, where if for one reason or another things go really bad with the ACL, the team can go back after the signing bonus money and get that back.
Okay, so is there any kind of worry in his camp? Is this any kind of an issue?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's in his camp, like they've been
Tootsie.
They've been dealing with it. That like this is sort of par for the course. Like I've said to you guys, I don't think he's a horrible guy. I've always liked my interactions with him, and I think like a lot of the people who've been around him. I know the people in Houston really liked him. I know some people in Buffalo really liked him. Brian Daboll, who's obviously with the Giants now, like has really liked him over the years. So. He's had some problems with some people. He's had some problems with his quarterbacks, in some places.
There's a honeymoon phase we're currently in, but he tends to wear out his welcome.
It's just that there's always something. You know what I mean? There's always something that you're dealing with. There's always a little something out there. And so I think in a weird way, is it better that this happened now so you can set the ground rules with him? And so you can say, okay, like this was probably bound to happen. Something was going to happen, whether it was something like this or something on social media. And now at least we can say to him, like, you got to straighten up and fly right. The other thing is, I do think, like, the not showing up for large portions of the off-season program, he's not, like, supposed to be pissed off about it. Like, Vrabel's not supposed, like, the team is not supposed to get pissed off about these things, but we know the reality of those situations.
Right. The very mandatory, non-mandatory sessions.
Right. And it's like, I mean, if part of it is you sit down with a guy and you talk to him in March and you're like, okay, like, well, we're really going to need you to be a part of this, as far as rebuilding our receiver room. And our receiver room was a playpen last year. And we had a position coach who didn't really know what he was doing. And we had some guys some kids who we thought were like Jalen Polk. We thought he was a really good kid. And it actually dragged him down. It wasn't just like the young guys weren't getting better. It's like the atmosphere in that room was actually dragging some people down. Well, like that's part of the deal, Steph. Like we want you to be part of fixing this. And then you don't show up in May. Like you can see where that can go the wrong way.
It still seems though like he's having an impact when you hear the other receivers talk and you listen to Drake May talk about him. I don't get the sense that they're just saying the right things. It seems like when he's around, he is that type of influence.
And I think that's why it's frustrating.
Yeah, but then you hear the comments from him where when people are asking him about the boat thing and all this stuff, and the things that he reverts to, the whole I've been in this league for 10 years. I've been doing this for 10 years. And
the point I guess he's trying to get across is I've been through this stuff before. I'm not going to be tricked into talking about something I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my obvious reaction is, if you've been doing this for 10 years, why do you keep stepping in these very obvious landmines and doing stuff that is going to invite this type of attention that nobody wants?
Because it hasn't cost him money. Because he's always been able to find a new home.
Yeah.
Because he's always been in that spot. I mean, even this one, I talked to a high up executive with another team a couple weeks ago when the pink bag of drugs first surfaced, and this guy said to me, he's like, one of my concerns if I were the Patriots right now would be, well, if this guy really cares, why didn't he just sign a 1-year deal with a contender? Like, why didn't he just go somewhere to go win? Like, he's at the end of his career. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Like, why wouldn't he just go pursue a ring? And the answer is that he knows that he's at the end and he's cashing out. And it's like, then you kind of kick around with some Patriots people on it. And I think sort of what they're counting on now is that, yeah, he probably was cashing out. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you sign with a 4-win team. Like, a big like, he is cashing. Like, this is his last bite of the financial apple. He's entitled to that. But when he gets on the field, he's such a competitive person that it's not going to matter that he cashed out. You know what I mean? Like, that he and that is legitimate. Like, that is a lot of the problems with quarterbacks has been that thing that star receivers have, which is like, I want to win. I believe the best way for us to win is for you to get me the ball. And if you are not getting me the ball, then I'm pissed about it. And it's, I mean, like, one of the reasons Buffalo got rid of him, like, because Josh Allen, like, they didn't want Josh Allen to be in a position anymore where every 3 throws he had to look over there if he hadn't thrown to Steph and figure out whether or not he was losing his mind.
Can I ask you a question? And this is just kind of random. When did, because, general managers, coaches will be asked about diva receivers, and they'll go, that's just part of what makes them great. When did was it Randy Moss that kind of started that?
That's a good question.
Like that's kind of an interesting exercise. You don't have to do it now, but if you think back, well,
I think about like the one that sticks out in my head is Chad Johnson,
right?
And there was like a lot going on, but he was a great
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens was a big one with that like maybe early 2000s.
Okay, but those are cautionary. Like Terrell Owens is like a cautionary tale
Michael
too.
Irvin, maybe.
Michael Irvin was one. Well, Keyshawn Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's a cautionary tale for teams too.
But Irvin, you were covering. Were you not covering the team when he was there or not?
No.
You're not that old? Okay. Michael Irvin is one of those guys. Gotta be.
I wish I was there.
But
for
he
the White
wanted
House
to.
Era. It sounds like it was a blast.
But those Cowboys teams seem to really be like unified. Now the way they bonded was over drugs at the White House, but not.
Yeah,
not
but they were
DC.
a powder keg that had like the right mix. Like I think what like a lot of football coaches will tell you is you need to have a few guys who are off, just because of the nature of the sport. You know what I mean? You need to have a few guys where like the driveway doesn't quite meet the street.
Yeah,
the elevator doesn't go all the way up.
Yeah, football seems to really lend itself to that. By the way, if you want to see if that drug was indeed Tusi, someone sent me a video. I don't know if they sent it to you guys, but it's long. It's body camera footage of the police in Miami arresting this woman that she was, I guess, like an influencer, this like quote unquote model, whatever, 13,000 followers. She plows through, apparently, you don't see it, but she plows through this intersection. 2 people die, and she's on pedestrians like got her and like held her down, and she's on this Tusi. Oh, like she's sort of like a complete maniac. Like it's made her. She's like, there's a golden crystal in New York City. There's a golden crystal in New York City. Where this is
like hallucination.
Yeah, like babbling nonsense. Like is completely unaware of her surroundings. Like it doesn't make it look fun. I can tell you that. It makes it look like you're having a schizophrenic breakdown.
Did I tell you about my a buddy of mine? Friend of his had a bachelor party in Colombia 11 years ago.
Yeah, his wife to be must have been thrilled.
Yeah, 11 years ago
because they were just going because the whitewater raft.
And when this story broke, he texted me, he goes, He goes, yeah, like he's like when we went down there, there was like he was like all the girls were looking for Tusi. So he's like, it's been down there for. He's like, it finally made it north.
It's funny that it would be in Colombia, though, and I'm not being sarcastic because it's got ketamine and MDMA in it, and I don't know why those would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Big in Colombia, but how did he explain the bachelor party in Colombia? Like, what was his reasoning?
He said they showed up to the airport and didn't know where they were going. And then he told them, like the guy getting married, he told him, like it was like just show up at the airport at this time. I don't know. I don't even know how you book flights that way. Like,
like a romantic getaway.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all
Back
going,
for something warm
Okay,
or cold.
can you say on the air why they wanted to go to Colombia?
I mean, I don't know exactly why, but I would think it'd be the obvious reasons, right?
Cocaine and prostitutes, like affordable cocaine and prostitutes.
Yeah, so.
And did the woman he was marrying know he was going to Colombia? Because I'm not even like I don't.
I'm not sure. Like
have fun at your bachelor party, but if I was engaged, my wife was like, if I was a woman, I was engaged, and my husband, you go to Vegas, like there's gonna be like hookers and strippers and stuff. Like I get it.
I went to Austin, Texas, so yeah.
I mean, I went to Vegas, and it was it was what you would think it would be. But I vomited on a woman, and she took it very well. She was being paid.
Find out a lot about your friends on a bachelor party,
if you can recall. But I would be on the woman's side if she was like my husband to be. My fiance went to Colombia, and not because of the cocaine part, because of you're like that's like when people go to certain places in the Far East, like, and you're like, like, why are you vacationing there? In fact,
a little much.
Adam might know this. TT Boy's interview show, the porn actor had a guy on who moved to one of these Far East regions.
Oh, we talked about that.
It is the most depressing thing in the world. And they go, "Why'd you meet there?" And he's like, "Young hookers." And you're like, "Oh, great." So that's how you're choosing to spend your retirement.
Let's see what you got, homeboy.
Yeah, it was actually quite
Check
sad.
out the podcast, Bert.
I couldn't. Yeah, that was one I was like, nope, not interested in watching this.
It will ruin porn for you forever. You watch it at your own
your own peril.
Your own peril. It gets a little too sad.
Well,
all right,
TT Boy out.
Yeah,
I need to do some more research on Tusi because I had like that body cam footage.
It's actually not funny. Like it's kind of
sounds interesting.
It's like really disturbing. And this woman now, it was like at 7:00 in the morning. Like this woman is going to be in jail for for vehicular manslaughter. I mean, she'll be in jail for like 10 years, 15 years. Yeah, it was a couple years ago.
So is Tusi a big problem down there then?
Yes. In Miami, I guess it's a big problem.
You can find it on the Only in Dade Instagram account, and it was posted in September of last year.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, like I guess when they talked to her, after they booked her and everything, they talked to her 12 hours later, and she had absolutely zero recollection of anything that had happened. Can you imagine that? You wake up in a jail cell, like you're strapped down, they 5150'd you, like everything. They think they took her to a hospital, and then they inform you, oh yeah, you were just in a traffic accident. And you're like, oh my god, and they're like, yeah, and 2 people died. And then you got to sit there and you have no recollection. Like as hard as you try to remember, you have like no recollection. Woofy, no 2C for me. I got to tell you that bad stuff. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
East.
I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Obviously, he wants to take care of you, but he's committed to the grind, and I can tell he was a part of, like, championship teams. He knows what it looks like. He knows what the DNA looks like. He's a grinder. You know what I'm saying? He's not like he talks a lot of smack, too. Surprisingly, right? But I'm going to keep spraying up him. I can't wait to play for him. He got that insight you can, and you want to run through a wall for him.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. Bert Breer is here talking to us. And we were talking about the expectations for the Patriots, Stephon Diggs, when he's there and when he's going to officially get cleared and all these things. And, Bert's been pretty steadfast and hold your horses on this season. Let's not make this the season. He said that it would take a Jalen Daniels-like performance from Drake May. And, there's just a ton of pressure on that guy this year because...
And I don't rule that out completely, but...
No.
I mean, I think it's, again, like, I think you're asking a young quarterback to elevate everyone around him. It's a lot to ask. And I always go back to, like, what these guys what a lot of the best quarterbacks in the league walked into. Patrick Mahomes was drafted by a playoff team. Josh Allen was drafted by a playoff team. Lamar Jackson was drafted by a playoff team. Like they went to established places. Like Joe Burrow is probably the one outlier. But even him, like they drafted Jamar Chase his third year. You know what I mean? So or his second year. So they wind up going to the Super Bowl. So it's just rare. It's just rare that you have like a young quarterback who comes in and just lifts everybody up.
Does Drake May compare, like, in his athleticism and size and everything, to Joe Burrow? Like, where would you put...
Yeah, I mean, I think he might be more physically gifted. Like, Burrow's more gifted than people give him credit for. Burrow's he's like an all-state basketball player.
Right.
Really good athlete, and he's a big, strong, like if you get up next to Burrow, like he's built like a linebacker, and his brothers actually were linebackers at Nebraska. I think Drake, you could make the argument Drake might be a little bit more physically gifted than Burrow. To me, like, Burrow is the most direct descendant of any of these guys to Brady because of just how fast he sees it, his feel for the game, his instincts, his ability to change. I mean, he's changed the face of the Bengals in a lot of ways. I think if you're talking about like physical ability, May might actually have it on Burrow by a little bit. Though again, the difference is that Burrow is like a supercomputer when it comes to football. Like he's, again, I think the most direct descendant of Brady of the guys that are playing now.
Based on how things are going so far in just back to the Patriots for a second in camp, that I heard some discussion about this last couple of days. Mood-wise, attitude-wise, vibe-wise, tough to get much of a gauge, but is it about what you expected under Mike Vrabel? Are things progressing in a way that seems to be jibing with what he was known for? Is it? I would not tough to say it should be improved from where things were, but is it as good as people were hoping for?
Now, let me start by saying, like, I felt like when Mike was in Tennessee, he was a top 10 head coach. So I had a high opinion of him to begin with. So when I say they're not exceeding expectations, my expectations of him as a head coach are high to begin with. But I think, like, this is sort of what I expected. I think coming out of the spring, you wanted to have a defined identity, a defined program, and you wanted to, if you go out there to the practice field, be able to look at something and say, like, this looks like a very professional operation. And, I haven't been down there, but, like, every single account I've gotten from, both, reading all the great people who cover the team and then also, like the people I've talked to down there, there's an efficiency to the way they're doing things that only happens when you've got a guy in there who's been a head coach before, and I think that's where Mike's 6 years of experience doing the job really come in.
I would like it if you, A, spent some time there, and B, gave us something on Roger's wife. I don't think that's too much to
Yeah,
ask.
we're not letting
That's
that one
two
get
things,
away.
yeah.
You failed at the
Well,
beginning
I
of
have
this hour.
31 other teams to cover too, but
There's no other story more important at this moment, correct?
Yeah.
There's nothing else at this moment that could possibly rank above that.
Above what? The
Aaron
Rodgers' wife?
Yes.
Oh, Rodgers' wife?
Yeah.
This mystery
What else
woman.
is there right now?
I don't I know some stuff about Rodgers' personal situation that I'm not at liberty to talk about.
Is it like it would make us feel sorry for him?
I think you would feel bad about it.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want to hear it then. Yeah.
I mean,
leave that outside.
If it's embarrassing stuff like the Belichick stuff,
Yeah.
then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Is there any ring camera footage of him with like a super old lady?
No, a super old lady instead of super young.
Okay, let's. I've done this exercise before, but I'm going to do it with you.
Jordan, then you're not saying Aaron's Belichick. You're projecting
Okay.
Aaron into the position of Jordan.
Let's do this exercise. Okay, so and I've done it before, but it's fun.
We have to keep the streak
All
alive.
right,
We
so
can't
Drake May,
problem with this.
Drake May's at his, there's a footage comes out. Drake May has got this place, and Dame Judi Dench in a bra, in pants, comes out and starts like going like looking all around, and that's even a bad example because she's fit in like an attractive, elegant woman.
One of the
like
gold
Kathy
girls?
Bates
One of the gold
comes,
girls?
like Kathy, they're all dead. Kathy Bates comes out. I think they all are dead. I think all of them are actually dead, and they were like our age when that.
Yeah, that's
show
the thing.
came
Is
out.
like that. I think I saw that as like horrifying. So they weren't really that.
Yeah, they were like in their
old.
50s.
Yeah.
So, say Kathy Bates comes out. She's probably like 75, 76. Kathy Bates comes out in a bra in her pants. That would be kind of like similar as being shirtless as a man.
In Winthrop.
Yeah, in Winthrop. And you link that to Drake May. Just put that through your head. Guys, I think don't have the ability to
I'll
like,
say
put
it to you again,
themselves to
Fred,
reverse the situation to our own detriment.
I'll say it to you again, Fred. The one that really brought it home for me was the Pat Summitt example.
Yeah, like if when Pat Summitt, like at the end of her coaching at Tennessee, she's like 68, 69 years old, and she's like in a pantsuit, and you find out she's dating like a 19-year-old guy. Like that would be weird.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons, I have trouble getting that scenario to work in my head.
Yeah.
With Pat Summitt.
It is hard.
What about like a Rhea Perlman? Someone who's a little, shorter in stature, but, still age appropriate for this exercise.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying.
Yeah,
Or Ronnie James Dio, the same thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I got another example. Say LSU, what's a huge, UConn, the coach at UConn retires, the women's
Gino.
He retires, right? It's a big story. When he retires, that will be a big national story. So they hire a 73-year-old woman to take the UConn head coaching job, and you find out that she is dating a 23-year-old guy who she met when he was 19. Do you think that would be a hiccup?
I don't. How would people react to that?
I think people would react
Would it be
to
like
that.
good for her? Or
Nope.
Would it be, no.
Nope, because it's worse for women. It's way worse for women.
I would think people would be like, "What the hell is that guy doing?"
Yes,
Right?
they
Like,
would
that
be
would
like,
be-
"What the hell is that guy doing?"
Yeah.
Right. Like, what the hell is the guy doing? Like, but it's no different. It's no different. Now, again, if it was Mick Jagger or something, but if it was like Raquel Welch when
But I
she
think
was
that
73,
that's
no
more-
one would think it was weird.
It's hard to equate it because, like, I think the assumption always is when it's an older guy and a younger woman that the woman's after the money, and I think it's harder to make that assumption with. Would a younger guy profit from?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's
I guess
the same
he would,
thing.
yeah, because if you were the spouse, then you would.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, women get the short end of the stick in these things. Like, no one can like kind of reverse the things and just see how weird it is. Now, women tend to like older men, and men tend to like younger women. Right. There is that aspect of it, but to a degree,
Right.
Not.
What's the rule? Is it like it's half?
There's
your
no
age plus
rules.
7?
There's no rules, baby.
No.
The rule is
The Honorable
rule is-
Elijah Muhammad taught us, yes, a woman should
it
be
half your age
half
plus-
the man's age plus 7.
So
that
it
what
shall
it
be
is?
written,
Okay.
so
And
it
if
shall be
she's
done.
tall enough, and if she can cook, clean, then the two should
So
be
I'm
married.
at 32 here. So that's what I would be
Half
doing,
the.
is
So
32.
I would be. Well, I'm 45, so that's kind of like a hard. But I'd be 30 or just under 30, I guess.
Yeah, you could safely be with a woman in her 20s, and then the esteemed Elijah Muhammad would have no problem with that.
That's right.
Hardy has the top of his head.
We did get to learn a little bit more about the gate security at Black Rock and Hingham this week, though.
Whoa.
What no?
Yeah, there was some article where the guy ran it, knocked on a door, and Belichick was there, and he saw the financial advisor.
Oh, that's right.
But it was the weirdest article because nothing
You
happened.
drove all over the place. Have you ever had that happen to you where you drove everywhere and got absolutely nothing and still managed to pump out 5,000 runs?
He got something. He got a bunch of stuff, but he just didn't use it.
I wouldn't do it before. I wouldn't write it before I had something. I did write. God, what was the name of the guy? I wrote a story. The last story I did for the Dallas Morning News before I moved on from there. Before I went to the Sporting News in 2008, was on this receiver for the Cowboys. God, I can't remember his name.
Sam Hurd.
No.
Not that guy?
It was a guy who played with Don Meredith.
Oh.
And he was living in a commune, and it was it was me and our investigative reporter did this dive into who this guy was and how is he scamming people out of money. So I have done those. That's the one that when I read this story, it was kind of like one of those because I went down to North Carolina and went to the guy's house, and it was really weird. I got yelled at, and so that's sort of what that brought home for me. Now I had done a bunch of other reporting where the story wasn't just me going to the door and getting yelled at, which it sounded like that's almost like what this whole story was. Now there was a bunch of other stuff in there, but I don't know how much of it was.
Let's
new.
just put it this way: if it was uninteresting to me, then it's uninteresting to everyone. I'm the one wanting something more than anyone else.
I was excited when I started to read. Oh, they went to the financial advisor, who I think is a key part of the story.
It's a huge. We talked about it off air. It's
Right.
a huge part of the story. We got to go, but you're right. Yeah, the financial advisor is a huge part of the story. It could be a big story if followed up on correctly. All right, Bert. Thank you so much,
thanks,
Bert.
guys.
MMQB. When football gets rolling again, he'll be on Amazon. We're coming back with a gift, really, to me, an exploration of a man who I think is a true national treasure. We'll have that in just a moment.
rookie Marcelo Meyer, and they beat Tampa Bay for a second straight evening.
There's a swing. There's a drive. Down into that corner again. Yes, sir. His second one of the ball game. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. And the Red Sox lead it 3-1 on 3 solo home runs.
That's Dave O'Brien on Nesson. The Sox, in fact, hit 4 solo homers, and they beat Tampa Bay 4-3 at Fenway Park. Abraham Toro's shot over the center field wall in the bottom of the 7th was the difference. Meyer hit 2 solo shots. Sox have won 4 out of 5. They have tonight off. They'll host the Yankees tomorrow night. The Celtics' Jaylen Brown underwent a minor knee surgery yesterday. He's expected to be ready for training camp. Indiana beat Oklahoma City last night 116-107. They lead the NBA Finals 2-1. The Knicks were denied permission by Chicago to speak to head coach Billy Donovan about their head coaching vacancy. This was less than 24 hours after both Dallas and Atlanta rejected them as well. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals will take place tonight in Florida. The Panthers lead Edmonton 2-1. And in golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open underway in suburban Pittsburgh. Ludvig Åberg of Sweden has birdied his first 2 holes to take an early 1-shot lead. Americans Maxwell Moldovan and J.J. Spohn are 1 under, along with the winner of the Open in Brookline 3 years ago, Matt Fitzpatrick. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler tees off at 125. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Wang Theater. Comedian John Mulaney is coming to the Wang at the Box Center Saturday, September 27th, with a 5th show added due to overwhelming demand. Visit Ticketmaster.com for tickets. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flavor.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Sports Hub.
Turn a radio personality into to be on it. They just hired Stephen A. Smith, so it sounds like Sirius is starting to invest a little bit more money in its product in terms of live programming, which is what their advantage would be. Is that podcasts, when they're consumed generally, are not live. Live, you can react to things that are breaking in real time. You can communicate with your audience in real time. That's their advantage. And there has long been a channel that has fascinated me, and it is a channel called Monday through Friday. They have a man that they've swiped right from the Jersey dial, right from the dials of New Jersey. You hear me reference him often. His name is Eddie Trunk. He was a host of That Metal Show, where they would do things like rank. They would have a bunch of vinyl out, and then they would have to rank the top albums by bands like Saxon. And it's like, Denim and Leather, I don't know where to put it. Like, he takes, his whole thing is, he loves bad music. And he loves it. And I love that show so much because the people that call in are like the people that went to my high school 15 years before I went there. They're long hair, mustaches, and it's hearing them at 60 now. Hearing guys at 60 years old that were total heshers, like, doing burnouts in the parking lot of high school in their Camaros that they were just holding together with duct tape. Guys that were smoking rat weed in the bathroom. These guys are now grown, and they're calling Eddie Trunk, and they're doing it in a fashion where anything goes. And no music topic is off the charts. He didn't know how to pronounce Tribe Called Quest, which I think is an affectation of his. Yeah. He claims to have no knowledge of who is the group he can play. They have Outkast. Yeah. He had no knowledge of Outkast even being around. He's so ingrained in the metal scene. He was just he is doing an event with Trickster in Worcester coming up this summer, which Adam claimed he wasn't doing, but he is.
Yes, he is.
And then he is hosting a day of cover bands, the festival of cover bands that will be in Worcester. But Eddie loves these bands. He loves the band UFO, as we just said. So what is this exercise we're doing here? Does anyone else know the answers but you?
I'm glad you asked.
Ain't talking about Trump. What's
Trump talking about? Oh, yeah.
So, yes, we have some audio for you, Fred.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Really good.
That you're going to play. We got
A little too popular a band, but go ahead.
I know. It's funny. Like I thought.
No,
just
it's
real
good.
quick. I
It's
thought
good.
about that.
No,
It's like,
no,
do I
it's-
use
you
UFO?
did the right thing. You
Thank
did the right thing.
So what you have is a series of clips from a recent Eddie Trunk show.
I literally can't wait for this.
And you are going to play each of the clips, and then you and Hardy and John are to figure out which band is Eddie Trunk talking about. Now, this particular show was a...
Oh, this is all from one? Okay,
was
so
a-
this is from one show.
Yes, this is from a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame themed show. And these particular clips are taken. I only got 40 minutes into the show, and I've got what might be 2, maybe 3 segments worth of this.
Yeah,
audio. If it's good, you'll be the judge of that. But
because he tackles subjects like Black Sabbath with Dio or without.
right, and this particular one,
Seems pretty pedestrian.
he's talking about snubs.
Blizzard of Oz
Yeah.
or Diary of a Madman.
Yeah,
that's another topic.
Which outranks which. So you have in front
Best
of
drum
you,
open. Oh,
Go
here's
on.
real quick.
Yeah.
He did one best drum opens, and people would call in and go like Black Dog, Led Zeppelin, or whatever, and then you go, "That's an awesome one." No playing it. Just
were people like mimicking it? I don't know the name of it when it goes
no, they'd be like Rush off the Hemispheres album, like Scoobity Bop, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's great, yeah." And they'd be like, okay.
Okay, so this is what I found interesting in going through this audio, Fred, is he's doing a 2-hour radio show talking about this. I didn't hear him play a song.
No. He doesn't play the song.
He doesn't actually play the music. He just talks about it. Apparently.
Yeah, someone wants to know if Hesher is a Michigan term. It's not. Hesher is a term for like a kind of like a metal guy, mustache, mullet, muscle car, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
It's I mean, you can just, Hesher is a term, though. It's national. All right.
So
what band is Eddie Trunk talking
Yes, what
about?
band is Eddie Trunk talking about?
Play the opening one more time.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Talking about Trump. What's Eddie Trump talking about? Oh, yeah.
All right. So we got to guess the band Eddie Trunk's talking about. All right, Here we go.
You guys know how I feel about is extraordinarily high on my snubs list.
All right, so this band has been snubbed. He does not like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's got two names. Okay.
You guys know how I feel about is extraordinarily high on my snubs list. And I believe that should go in the back door, the musical excellence, whatever they want to call it, because can then be nominated and be honored, I should say, for all of his bands. We all know it is a travesty. Name me one other act that went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that had a singer that sang on 3 albums and did a live album and was not included with the band in the induction.
Fred's got it.
I can't think of another case of that happening.
Okay, he's got it. Look at that look.
Cat got
He's
the
got
canary.
It. So it is a guy, a singer whose band, multiple bands have been inducted, or just one band was inducted and he wasn't included.
That's the latter. Yes.
Okay, so a singer whose band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he wasn't included.
And he refers to him in a one-syllable term, which he's very close to this man. He's toured the world with this man. Recently in Japan. It's ludicrous he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm leaning on you, Hardy. I have no idea.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Numerology is big.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you know from
I
the
got
show.
it. Yes, I do have it.
He's got a box.
I got it.
It's well protected. This is the last clue. He's got a box that's well protected.
I got it. Oh, I'm psyched. All right, go ahead. I don't know.
Sammy Hagar.
Oh, come on. Really? It's not. What?
That's incorrect.
Ronnie James Dio?
It is Ronnie James Dio.
Okay.
That he's speaking of.
That's who Fred was talking about. It's 3-lock box is what he was talking about.
Because he said, is he saying Dio? Oh, so he's just saying
Yes.
Dio. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, man.
It's Ronnie James Dio. All right, I forgot. I thought it might have been Sammy Hagar. My initial thing was Ronnie James Dio.
Those first bleeps threw. Ryan was saying those first bleeps, the double bleep probably threw you off.
It did
Made you think that it was two names and not
because he
one.
said Ronnie Dio instead of Ronnie James Dio. All right, very good. I don't like that, Ryan. You made me look bad. All right, here we go.
I don't know if have done themselves any favors because famously speak out against the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and have gone on record more than once calling it rubbish and saying they would not attend. And when they did show up on ballots, would not even allow interviewers to ask them about it, wanted nothing to do with it. Now, I had asked Tom if when artists act like that openly against the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, does it hurt their chances to be voted in? Clearly, it probably doesn't help. Because if you're a voter on the fence and you're seeing that, you're probably like, oh, these guys. They don't want to be in any way good. I'm not going to put them in. I'm not going to vote for them.
Okay. So he's used the word rubbish, which leads me to believe this is a British metal act.
You're probably like, oh, these guys.
It's a metal act, right?
It is a metal act. And for context, the Tom he's referring to, he's name-dropping Tom Morello, who is his inside guy at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who's feeding him some information on some of these acts that are nominated and giving him a little direction.
I'm going to say Iron Maiden.
No, Iron Maiden's in the Hall of Fame, I think. Okay, so it's one word.
Who are you saying, Hardy?
Iron Maiden.
So he's talking about.
All right, so we can't go by the beeps because he's saying Maiden.
He's saying Maiden.
Yeah,
how's that for a poll?
They haven't even done themselves any favors.
No, you see.
Yeah, they've called it rubbish.
We didn't get to this was. I'm sorry, I just wanted to play this real quick. We had to cut this out of the end of the Dio clip because it would have given too much away. But
Dio, Sabbath, Rainbow.
Just like rattling off bands, like, why isn't Dio in? He's got all these bands.
Well, people will call him, they're like, I saw Dio at the San Diego Civic Center in 1978, man. I wasn't a Rainbow fan going in, but, I mean, I went to go see Richie Blackmore. But, man, I left worshiping at the altar of Dio.
You could include Vinny Appice in that as well.
Of course, and Carmine Appice. Get his brother in there, too.
All right, here we go.
Absolutely a huge omission. Talked about it when I saw it recently. Now that Journey's there, now that Foreigner's there, when you see what is still doing, it's absurd. Still not on a ballot.
Oh, Jesus, this is hard.
So he's mentioning him in
playing.
the same breath with Journey and Foreigner, and blank still isn't there.
And the bleeps are on point for this one. This is a one-syllable, one-named rock and roll act.
Free.
No. Foghat.
Oh!
No, that's a good guess,
That's
though.
a good guess.
You want to know who it is?
Yeah.
Oh!
Sticks.
Oh, I figured Styx was already in it.
Well, the grand illusion
Eddie
alone.
figures the same thing.
He'll venture into topics that are prog rock. I mean, don't think that he's pigeonholed into metal. All right, here we go.
Guy we had on yesterday, and I talked to him about it. They got a diamond record, folks. Not a lot of people, not a lot of acts that have records that have sold 10 million or more in the U.S. alone.
Yeah.
Has that. Still active. Obviously, this name change thing, whatever.
Oh, all right.
Again, when you're looking at these 70s album rock staple acts, and now you've done Journey and you've done Foreigner, Styx, Boston, Meatloaf, ridiculous they're not here.
Go ahead.
Is it Starship?
Yeah, Jefferson Airplane.
That was going to be my guess.
It's a good guess, but incorrect. This is another band that had the name, and then they shortened the name, and they did this and that, and it is definitely in the same genre as the ones that he just mentioned. Diamond record, big FM rock.
Oh, Boston.
That's a good guess as well.
That Boston was in as part of the thing.
Yeah, they didn't change their name. What, did they change the name to 617? No.
All I know is that the drummer was at Ernie Bach's party, and he was wearing a leather
right.
vest with no shirt on underneath.
Do you want to guess one more time, or you want the answer?
Give me the answer.
Oh,
REO Speedwagon.
Did they just shorten to Speedwagon?
Yeah.
Did they? When did that happen?
They did kind of like a Mellencamp thing where they kind of flipped it around and then they went back on it.
I don't remember them changing it at all.
I think they.
I wonder
the REO.
I wonder if we're giving him too much publicity, because if people know that he's campaigning for REO Speedwagon to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I wonder if they're just going to start turning the channel. Well, you threw us off with the Speedwagon thing. I don't like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see if we can get the last one here.
All right, here we go.
And a guy that's never going to get in, and we know why, even though he is completely deserving, and that's
Pete Rose.
By the way, I didn't stop the tape.
Yeah.
These pregnant pauses.
5-second pause.
He's got 2 hours to fill, ladies and
But he
gentlemen.
won't play songs, which is crazy.
No, but you need to know the best drum opens of all time. Do you need to hear them? No. You should have them in memory.
Okay, he'll never get in, and we know why. That's what.
No, that's not the whole clip.
and a guy that's never going to get in, and we know why, even though he is completely deserving, and that's my buddy Mark Cicchini was texting me this morning going.
Now, the one problem with him is that Eddie names drops. I
Yeah.
mean, we know you're buddies with Mark Cicchini. All right? I get it, Eddie.
It really is, puffing yourself up too much to mention guys like that all the time.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, what? No, I'm such a loser because, great, you got his number in your cell phone. I would die to be you. Yes, okay, you win. All right, I'll pick it up where we left off.
That's my buddy Mark Cicchini was texting me this morning going or this afternoon going crazy about. I said, Mark, it's not going to happen.
Can you imagine his life? Mark Cicchini is texting you in the middle of the day about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and omissions. This is the life Eddie Trunk lives. It's almost like TMZ. It's like how these elites live. And he's got a house in Vegas and in Los Angeles. No, he's got Vegas and Jersey.
Yeah, he's from Michigan. And I'm like, he's like, it doesn't matter. It's just the musical history.
I know it for sure. Yeah,
This, that. He was a stadium actor. I go, I'm with you.
Okay, I think I got it.
We all know the reality. We all know, and it's not fair and it's not right, but we know why we'll never sniff this thing.
I think so.
Don't let him talk or not talk. We all know the answer.
Let him not talk.
Yeah, let him not talk. All right, listen, I'm going to start where we left off. We all know the answer.
My apologies to Eddie.
We all know the answer. Please allow the man his dramatic silences because they make the point even better.
But we know why we'll never sniff this thing. It's wrong, but we know why.
All right, he's been pretty much an outcast. I mean, just marrying a 16-year-old with the permission of the parents is enough.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
That's incorrect.
Do we all agree it's Ted Nugent?
It's Ted Nugent. Okay. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he
What?
F that guy.
You're not going to play Wango Tango?
I'll play the outro.
What did he do to you?
A little stranglehold? What's the problem?
Yeah, what did Ted do to you, terrible Ted? He had a morning show in Detroit. He had a morning show in Detroit.
That's right.
For a while until he was fired.
Dio, Sabbath, Rainbow.
Yeah, he had the triumvirate. All right.
You could include Vinny Appice in that as well.
All right, so we'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hut. on the Sports Hub.
The Knicks got to be the stupidest damn people in the world. Like, you don't fire no good coach like that and don't have a plan. Tibbs did a hell of a job. Obviously, something's going on there, but you don't have a plan. And now, if 3 coaches turn you down, you got to have a plan, man. And they don't have a plan.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, and that is, of course, Charles Barkley, whose show is now moving to ESPN. And we'll see if they leave them alone, because TNT, that became the most popular, and it is by far the most popular studio show. Maybe in the, since there's been cable. I mean, obviously, like when there was 3 networks, I mean, things were more popular. But I mean, and the entire reason for it is they leave them alone, is that they have complete freedom. Like they don't even have to talk about basketball necessarily. Like they'll full on admit to like not having watched the game that they're talking about. And because if you got a lot of people would have just taken that show and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And they had the wherewithal and smarts to just go, "All right, we're gonna let Barkley do whatever he wants." And that's the thing, is when you find someone who's that talented, you got to just let him go.
Now they're headed to ESPN, and you saw the Barkley interview about the pilot they filmed, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Barkley basically said it was the worst show they've ever done in their entire life.
Right.
And so I am hoping that ESPN understands exactly what they have and leaves it the hell alone.
I'd leave them in Atlanta.
Oh,
I'd
God.
leave them I'd see if I could get those studios.
Pat McAfee, that thing. Just it's yours. You do what you want with it.
Well, yeah, it's Pat McAfee with talented people.
Exactly, but the
no,
theory
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah.
it's Pat McAfee with talented people.
You guys do what you do, and we'll sell the hell out of us.
Yeah, and maybe they can hire another studio show to go up against their studio show, like ESPN did with Rich Eisen when they signed him to go on the air at the exact same time as Pat McAfee, which I think might be a message to Pat McAfee, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Usually not good news when your company hires a show to go on directly opposite you. The same company.
Yep.
And a national name for that matter. All right, so there's got to be a reason the Knicks got rid of Thibodeau beyond the not beating Indiana, because that's very understandable. Something happened there. Thibodeau is a weird guy. We all know that. He is an obsessive guy. He plays his starters too much during the regular season. There's all these things. But take that out of it. Say they had the best reason in the world to get rid of Tom Thibodeau. Udoka is a really good coach, and the Celtics got rid of him. I'm not saying anything like that happened with Thibodeau.
Right.
In fact, anything with a woman or a man sexually with Thibodeau seems almost inconceivable. Thibodeau seems about
he's always in his office,
the most asexual human being in the history of the world.
Back and forth.
Yeah, like let's just assume it was no harassment issue. Whatever the reason they had, but the thing is that when you fire a coach, you have to have some idea of what you're doing and then not flail around so publicly. So they asked Dallas, is the latest team they asked for permission to talk to Jason Kidd. Now, why would Dallas grant you permission to do that? You're getting Cooper Flagg. You have Anthony Davis. You got the Lucic trade to win now. In the trade for Doncic. The trade for Doncic, made you bad enough to get the pick for Cooper Flagg. So good fortune rains down upon you.
Kyrie comes back from his torn ACL. You have maybe 1 or 2 viable years with him, Anthony Davis, and Flagg all playing together.
Like, I don't understand why I would give you permission. The teams that you would give permission are, like, if you have an offensive coordinator in football and you don't want to hold them back. So if you're the Lions, you let Ben Johnson talk to people about John.
To speak to Quinn Snyder, and they asked Chicago to speak to Billy Donovan, and both of those teams rejected the Knicks also. So they're 0 for 5.
Yeah, because it was Udoka in Houston.
Yep, it was Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, like Fred was talking about, and Chris Finch in Minnesota, and these last 2 happened yesterday.
Yeah, so the Knicks' plan was to poach a coach from another team. Why? Because they're New York?
Yes.
Why? Because Kendall Jenner is on is courtside?
Yeah, that was the entirety of their plan. I heard a great metaphor about this, basketball metaphor. You don't leave your feet without a plan. And they left their feet when they fired Thibodeau, And now I think you're right, Fred. I think it's because they're the number one market and it's the Knicks that not only would every coach want to coach there, but every team would be like, of course, you're the Knicks. We have to allow our guy to take the interview there. To hold him back would be criminal. No, the teams are just saying no.
We have to bring up the conspiracy theory we were talking about before the show, which is the Knicks really got good in the last 3 years with Thibodeau, and they kept getting better and better, and now it's chaos again. And why is that? The theory is that James Dolan, who is the meddling owner of meddling owners, was focused on building the Sphere out in Las Vegas, took his attention away from the Knicks. That's when they got good. The Sphere's built, Dolan's back being involved, and we're back into chaos.
Yes. Yeah, well, Dolan's a terrible owner.
That's the conspiracy theory right now.
Yeah, Dolan's a terrible owner, so it seems good for Jimmy Fallon for having his band play and to jump up and down like he was excited about it. But yeah, James Dolan is a notorious bad owner.
Yeah, I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just it's kind of obvious. Sometimes an absentee owner is the best type of owner to have. And if your owner is James Dolan, the more time he's out of the building, the better off your team will be.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, it's the same in New York with Woody Johnson when he was the ambassador for the UK and he was gone.
JD and the Straight Shot.
Jimmy Fallon, you're hosting the Tonight Show, arguably the most iconic show in the history of television, which I don't think is a stretch. Have James Dolan and his band on because he owns Comcast and act excited about the whole thing. Does he own Comcast or something else? He owns one of these things. And by the way, this isn't even his song. This is a cover song.
This is so bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. There's something about rich white guys that they need, like billionaire white guys, that they need to play the blues. Jim Irsay, Ernie Bach, James Dolan, like they all have blues bands. Oh, Wick Grossbeck is like a big playing with these like blues guys.
Well, wouldn't you have the blues too if you were a billionaire? Wouldn't you just be so bummed out if you had all that money?
It's just funny that they all gravitate towards like bad, like not like like kind of generic-y blues music. Like it's a very odd thing. He owns Cablevision or something, James Dolan.
By the way, you know who the John Henry Group beat out to purchase the Red Sox in 2002?
James Dolan.
Charles Dolan, his dad.
Yeah.
So we could have been under the reign of terror here, in theory.
Yeah. So, the Knicks basically, and if someone can explain it to me if this is a common thing, but I don't understand why any team would allow their coach to interview for another coaching job if you have them under contract. I don't get why that happens. And also, from a Knicks perspective, when you're asking for these coaches' permission, these stories are all going to come out. And now you're asking the Hawks for Quinn Snyder? Like, what, you want Quinn Snyder that bad? What,
no,
his success at University of Missouri got you so excited?
No, Quinn Snyder is a decent head coach. He not turned the Hawks around, but made them somewhat relevant.
Quinn Snyder's a fine coach. He's a lifer. He's a guy that his name is always in the hat. Quinn Snyder, he's got a cool slick back hair. I understand Quinn Snyder, but the idea is like Udoka has taken a Rockets team and made them into something special, right? Like I understand that. I even understand kind of Jason Kidd. He took that team to the finals,
right?
Like I understand that, but now you're just shoving the Hawk. Like you can't find a guy. You can't vet guys to find a Quinn Snyder type, like a lifer NBA journeyman coach. Like why don't you just hire him alone?
You just fired one of those guys.
Exactly.
That was Thibodeau.
Yeah, all these guys you're looking at are all retreads like Thibodeau,
Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan. Like these are all lifelong guys. They college coach. Quinn Snyder, Donovan, big time college coaches, went to the NBA, bunch of jobs in the NBA. What are you doing? It's just so, sometimes these teams are so poorly run. It's unbelievable.
The funniest thing is, and I don't think they reached out to him, but the funniest thing is, people are running and looking at former coaches and possibilities. Rick Pitino's at St. John's. He had success with the Knicks when he was there, so they went and talked to him, and Pitino's like, I'm not coaching there. I'm not going there. Rick Pitino, before being asked, said he's not going.
Yeah.
I mean, the
big thing is
that's one of these things that make you sit up and go, okay, this is bad.
Well, you know what ex-college coach that everyone's talking about because of all the Villanova guys.
Jay Wright, who also said no, by the way.
Why would Jay Wright possibly want that job? Jay Wright's all like handsome, sitting on TV, making money. He doesn't have to do anything anymore. You think he wants that Knicks job?
Michael Malone, who won an NBA title in Denver, is from northern New Jersey, was born in Queens. That's a natural. He said no. I have no idea what's going on
because
there.
they don't want to work for James Dolan.
Oh, man,
and,
it's bad.
And they probably feel the team reached its ceiling. They probably feel like that team has nowhere else to go.
And quite frankly, they reached the ceiling by doing what the players themselves didn't necessarily like, but by playing the starters a ton of minutes and not developing the younger players. Well, if you go in there with the expectation that that's what the team needs and that's what's going to make the players happy, you're not going to win as many games. Yeah, they won a ton of games by playing their starters a huge number of minutes, but that's what got them so close to making the finals.
So now,
because the narrative is that Indiana was better prepared for the playoffs in these deep runs because they've played so much of their bench all season, and then it's unfair to make guys on your bench play big minutes in playoff games when they haven't been playing all year, and that's the thing is that, if you do that, you're right. Indiana was a 4 seed. Like, if you do that, like, you're putting yourself in a position where I'm going to get killed all regular season because we're not winning, 65 games. We're not winning 60 games. You're going to get all freaked out.
Right.
And, now we're going to, get into the playoffs as a 5 seed. Everyone's going to crap themselves. And, now we're going to have to make a run.
So now we're on the Knicks' 8th or 9th choice,
which is great if you're the guy too.
Yeah, I know.
It's always fun when like your last choice gets the job.
It's funny too because now they're bringing up a name. Johnny Bryant is the guy who's an assistant under Thibodeau, the lead assistant. Apparently, coached in Cleveland's got a lifer, a guy who's young, who's been around forever, and just happens to be the guy standing next to Thibodeau. After they go through 9 or 10 guys, they're going to go back to this guy, and he's going to be the head coach.
I bet you they hire Brunson's dad. I bet you anything they hire Brunson's dad.
Ooh, that would be very college-like, wouldn't it?
Brunson's dad's an assistant coach.
I know, but that would.
You see the thing where the white kid from Villanova who they traded, DiVincenzo was like yelling at the bench. He was yelling at Thibodeau, and after the game, Brunson's dad like came up to him yelling at him because he thought he was talking to Brunson's dad.
Oh yeah,
and because he's like, let the players' dads coach. And he was like, I was talking to Tibbs, and Brunson like came and got between the two of them.
Oh man!
Because you watch, you think I'm kidding? I bet you Jalen Brunson's dad gets that job. He's an assistant coach on that team.
Why not? He's as good. He's as viable a candidate as anyone else.
Well,
at this point.
You're down to your 11th, 12th, 14th choice. New York Knicks, by the way, the gold standard with the big fans that celebrate after a second round win, ride in the streets after a second round win. Embarrassing. You're a cool city, too. You're supposed to be jaded and cynical and nihilistic. Stop this. Celebrations. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Essential Sports Hub.
the email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
All right. We are Toucher and Hardy. If you would like to email us, our email addresses are up at 985thesportshub.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Toucher and Hardy. And, of course, you can follow me, very important, at Fred Toucher. I do updates from the road. It's a very exciting thing. Everyone is into it. There is some talk. Chad Finn did a very nice article about the show in the Globe. It features pictures. In fact, one of the pictures is captioned. Chad didn't write the captions, but I can read you this. One of the captions reads as follows: Fred Toucher took over the number one chair with the creation of Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. So I finally got in my position as the host.
Yeah.
After years of being a second fiddle, I finally have now achieved what I need to achieve. Finally, the opportunity to get in and out of breaks. I'm the one who says 985 the Sports Hub, Toucher and Hardy now.
Finally,
I'm the one who says, Hardy, what happened last night? That's what. Now I'm the one who gets to do it. No, I've always. This has been my position since I've been in radio. Dave says, but Chad did a very nice job. And it's an honor. I'm very, like I said earlier in the show, I'm very, very happy for you guys, for everybody. It's an interesting story how this all came about. It was no Machiavellian scheme. It was almost like just by being around and getting sick and being an alcoholic, I got my friends around, and now my show's more successful than ever. How about that? That's basically the story.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, Adam had to fail, but then other than that, I mean,
that's nothing new.
Yeah, I mean, he's done that all over the place, but that's what we got.
Good morning. Congratulations on Chad Finn's article. Only been listening for about a year. Well, we've only been on for about a year and a half. The show is very well produced, and you guys do a great job. Thanks. P.S. I'm presently watching a tree crew cutting down huge trees on my street, Patrick Kenny, Milton, Mass. I'll need the address. Milton, not too far from where I live. I could maybe detour on the way home.
Oh, well, you would love Detroit because right out in front of our window. So Greektown is a neighborhood in Detroit that is like bustling bars and businesses. It's right downtown. It's like a series of restaurants and bars. Like there might be 20 of them, like in a 2-block, 3-block radius. All the streets were closed down in front of them as they were doing construction, as they have been for 3 months. And I looked down right on the construction. You know how many hours I saw people working on that construction? Less than an hour. There might have been one guy dicking around on some kind of like equipment. But no, they're in absolutely no rush to fix that. And if I own one of those businesses, I'm like, hi, guys. Like, Kendrick Lamar played tonight. You might want to
access to our establishment.
Or if I owned Comerica Park, if I owned those businesses, the Tigers are playing, I would like. Now, you could walk on the sidewalk, but imagine if they just took Boston, like a section of Beacon Street in Boston, and just shut down 3 blocks of it, and it was down to the dirt. And it was like that for 3 months. I mean, they do not get things done in an efficient way in that city. Dave says, I'm pumped to read about the article. I'm pumped to read about the article. I'm truly happy for you guys. I'm a huge fan of yours and Hardy's. The station has 4 elite talents, and your show has 2 of them. John and Hardy, I guess.
Yeah.
If things had broken the other way and the station done something else, what would have been your next step? Would you have done something outside the box, or would you have gone and tried to go head-to-head with the old show and perhaps made a hype video a la Andy Grush going to WEI?
That was the best.
I was under as I told Chad, it's not in the article. When I was doing my negotiation, I knew nothing was going on. I didn't know anything was going on. My negotiation went like my negotiations go. You guys know this. Like the money, the increase in salary, like everything was the same. Like there was no inclination that anything was going on. Like I didn't know. I knew things were really bad internally, but I figured this is, whatever. This is my lot in life. This is successful. This is what's going to be going on. So I had no inclination of anything going on until I signed my deal. And then when I signed my deal, I found out everything that was going to happen. And then people go, well, why'd you talk about it in the air? And why'd you talk about it? Because I was finding out things all the time, like in real time. I was finding out stuff that was going on behind my back, and it got me, and I would be pissed off, and I'm on the air, so I would get pissed off, you know? And that's why that was all happening. But I mean, it goes into a little bit of that.
Speaking of which, we've made some plans when you were gone the last couple of days. We have a couple of things coming up that we need to tell you about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Show trips and, the big things we're putting on.
Oh, okay.
Decided
got a live show we
in your
That's
absence.
right.
together.
We've been putting together. We got to do a live show at the Wilbur.
Yeah.
Coming up soon.
Well, that was one of the things that allegedly was going on, is that I was approached by someone in promotions, and they're like, I don't know if you knew about this, but there was this big comedy show at the Wilbur that was to be hosted by the morning show being planned. And I'm like, oh, what it seemed to me is like this was being planned with the idea that I'd no longer be here. Because I had no idea about that it was going on, and it was going on without any of my knowledge.
Well, there's a plan while you're off in a rubber room somewhere, and
I was not
not allowed contact about.
Yeah, you were in a
any
different
matters.
state at that point.
I was not in rehab. I was not. During that time, I was at home.
Oh.
That was my throat. The throat wasn't the drinking part. The two things get very confused. People think I was in rehab. I wasn't in rehab during that time. I was at home.
House arrest, rehab, whatever.
One
It's
big
all the
block
same.
of time off is what it is.
I do like that the Puzzle Factory reference made it into the piece. That was nice. A little bit of show lore in the piece. Yeah.
Did it say Puzzle
I
Factory?
believe it does. Doesn't
No,
it?
I
Is that
don't
wrong
think
about
it
that?
said that. No.
If it says Puzzle Factory,
I'm sorry. It's
untrue and
it's in
defamatory
the
things are being
comments.
said.
It's in the comments. Sorry, we've been coming to the comments. This week.
That's tomorrow.
Someone made a
We'll
Puzzle
go through that
Factory,
tomorrow. No.
comment.
Puzzle
Thank you,
Factory.
Ryan.
No, Chad. Chad did not say that.
Well,
No.
if that's been don't think I've been in John's ear all morning trying to figure out what all these things I was saying before
Which ear?
the end of the show.
The good one, the left one.
It's all the same. The one ear goes into the
Yeah.
other ear.
One more email. Love the show. Love the article. It's great to see the three amigos get some recognition. John, you're a bird, and they should have called you that in the article.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been defamatory. You
Love
shouldn't have
Ben.
done that.
Love you too, Ben. You're awesome.
Hey, Johnny
Very
Wallach,
defamatory.
how's D3 basketball?
Very defamatory. Slanderous and
Sarge.
defamatory.
There was one more thing I want to touch on, because yesterday we were talking about napping and car naps.
Oh, I read this.
And it says, Hardy, you were waxing poetic about parking lot naps in your car. Very faintly, you can hear in the background without prompt the "oh yeah" from 12. Adam, it's not a parking lot nap if you're spending consecutive sleeps in the same four doors that also house you for the prior 24 hours.
How's the cans?
And how's the cans? You spent the 24 hours scavenging in the very same parking lot where you intend returning them for change. That's called where you live.
He's speaking about Adams living in a car.
Yes, and also hunting the parking lot for cans.
But he doesn't even return the cans so much as he doesn't do it for the money.
No, he's just doing for the recycling.
He's like David Sedaris. He's obsessively going around picking up trash.
Walking 30 miles a day.
Yep. All right. So we'll be back. I will share for you my time. When I was away for 2 whole days. I will be back. We will be back in just a moment.
beat Tampa Bay for a second straight night last night, 4-3 at Fenway Park. Marcelo Meyer hit a pair of solo homers to lead the offense, and Walker Buehler went 7 strong innings for the victory.
I mean, where we're at and where we're at in the year, there's plenty of time for us to make a run, and it starts with winning series against teams in our division, and to do that back-to-back, I think is huge. And
Jaron Duran and Abraham Toro added solo shots in the win. Aroldis Chapman picked up the save. The Sox have tonight off. They'll host the Yankees tomorrow evening. The Celtics' Jaylen Brown underwent minor arthroscopic right knee surgery yesterday. He's expected to be a full go for training camp. In other NBA news, Indiana held off Oklahoma City 116-107 to take a 2-1 lead in the NBA Finals. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight in Florida. The Panthers lead Edmonton 2-1. And in golf, round 1 of the U.S. Open is underway. Rory McIlroy and American J.J. Spaun continue to share the lead at 2 under par. Ludwig Oberg and Xander Schauffele are among a large group of men one shot back. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler will tee off in about 4 hours. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenheiser Home Services. Need more space at home? An ADU, that's an accessory dwelling unit, could be the answer. Rodenheiser Home Service builds custom ADUs from design and permitting to expert construction. Visit Rodenheiser.com to schedule a consultation. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30 on 9:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
You saw that, first of all, that indeed during the golf tournament, before the golf tournament, the huge bet that we had been talking about nonstop for a year finally came to fruition. And I don't know if you guys, how much you talked about it, but I did race the golf cart and in a 40-yard dash.
Oh, it was discussed at length, and we have Ryan Johnston had a very good theory about the golf cart as well.
Which is what?
Well, because it was GPS tracked, it was so close to the tee box and in part of the rough between the tee box and the actual fairway, it would be programmed not to move. So when Hardy floored the accelerator on the golf cart, it didn't move immediately because it was GPS locked up against the tee box because it wasn't supposed to be there in the first place, giving you an advantage.
Right. The only problem with that theory is that it wouldn't have moved at all.
It wouldn't have moved at all. And look, I was a gracious host to Ryan and his theories. I said, yeah, maybe it slowed down a little bit. Your start, and I have to say, Fred, young Nicholas's start out of the gate.
It was quite embarrassing. Nicholas took off. He was taking it very seriously. He took off. Now, I have long legs. He has short, stubby legs. So, of course, I had the advantage. Right away, it takes me a while to get going.
He had the lead for about 20 yards there.
But then I start hitting my stride.
Yes.
And then once my strides come in, because I have long legs, people making fun of the way I look like when I was running. And to that, I would say, you're right, I do. I look ridiculous.
Well,
when was the last time to the people saying, when was the last time you ran 40 yards? I mean, I don't know what I look like when I run. I'm not playing football. Not running around, running 40-yard sprints. I look ridiculous.
I gave you all the credit in the world. I said I didn't think it was going to be close. I couldn't have been more wrong. It was not even a race of any kind, and you deserve all the credit. And Nick deserves a lot of credit too. If it was a 25-yard dash, Nick wins it. Mm-hmm. Obviously in the 40, you beat Nick, not by a ton.
No.
And who knows what would have happened on fairway, different conditions, but that cart was slow out of the gate, and it had no chance. It was not a race at all.
Well, that was my theory, is that the carts take a while to get going. And I figured that if you get going, if you keep any kind of normal pace, you'll be able to do it. It was wet ground too. There was a lot of it was very hazardous.
Mm-hmm.
It was really life affirming before I did it to have everyone telling me, don't tear an ACL or rip your Achilles. If me running 40 yards was somehow jumping out of an airplane, what do you think? I mean, I move around, I can move.
Okay. number one, were you sore the next day?
More from the golf because I haven't played golf. Like my back was sore.
Nick was complaining about soreness all over his body.
Yes.
His hips, his glutes, which that's a lot of soreness.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that for most people, that would be like being in a body cast?
So,
That's a medically induced coma situation.
little legs of his. He said everything was sore the next day, and he said it was getting worse. I didn't check in with him again yesterday, but I sometimes they'll say 2 days after a rigorous workout, like 140-yard dash for Nick. The second day is worse.
You know, I'm blaming my soreness and stiffness the next day on the 5-hour round of golf. I think that may have had more of an effect. Of that. All right. So I went. The reason I wasn't here the last couple of days is I went to Detroit, Michigan, to take my daughter Zoe to see Kendrick Lamar and SZA. She's a big SZA fan, and that was at Ford Field, which is obviously where the Lions play. It's a stadium. When they played here, they played Gillette. Why didn't you go to Gillette? Because it's a pain in the ass, and I'd rather go to Detroit. Walk right there.
Can stay right next to it.
Yep, you can walk right there. You can walk around the city. It's just easier, and I like it. And I get to go to the places I like to eat and all of these things. So, by the way, Hardy, so we went to the Fisher Building because I figured that there would be something to do in the Fisher Building, and there's nothing to do in the Fisher Building. Hardy and I both worked in the Fisher Building at different times. Isn't that weird? We both worked at radio stations. Well, I interned at a radio station. He worked at a radio station. They were on the top floor of this like old, what is the architecture style there? The Art Deco, like this like old Art Deco, beautiful building. We were in the roof of it. And when I walked in, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Like I have no recollection of this. Like it just meant nothing to me. But so there was nothing to do there. So we go across the street. Now we're like 3 miles from our hotel. We go across the street and we're eating breakfast. And Zoe gets on Instagram, SZA's pop-up is taking place. And wouldn't you know, as fate would have it, SZA has a pop-up in every city she goes. She has a makeup brand that she does a pop-up of. And she was showing up at all of them. She shows up at them, except in Detroit, because she was at the BET Awards the night before. Which is awesome for me, because I know Zoe would have wanted to stay there and wait for her to show up.
Yeah.
So luck would have it, it's in Corktown, it was right by where Tiger Stadium was. And now this area in Detroit, Corktown, has become like kind of like an artist colony. So there's these buildings with like graffiti murals and stuff. It's kind of cool. And we get to the place and there's a ass ton of security. Like there's a ton of security. It's at this, it's like at a repurposed space is the best way to put it. Like it's like an abandoned warehouse with no roof on parts of it that has been repurposed into like a club in like an artist installation. So we get there and there are all these security guys and they go to me. They're like, all right, you're good. They're like frisking you down with the wand. And then they go, ooh. One guy says, check out that guy's shoes. And they're like, oh, well, and they all the security guys gather around.
What were you wearing?
I was wearing sneakers. I was wearing these Japanese Nike sneakers that I have. And we go about these things, and I got to say, at the end of the vacation, Zoe was very impressed because Detroit has some differences from Boston, and she was like,
demographically,
and she was very impressed with the interactions I have and the respect that I was gathered from the people of Detroit.
Well, how comfortable you are in that environment, in that part of the country, and in that culture, and it's what you grew up with.
And Pete Davidson does a joke about it, but there's nothing like when a group of young black gentlemen, are going on and on about your sneakers. I mean, it makes you feel alive. I'm 50 years old, white guy. Like, this is big time. And now we're talking. And you think about it, if you're the girl, you're the 14-year-old girl, your dad, you're maybe a little self-conscious. I'm here with my dad, which she shouldn't have been, because everyone at that concert was with their dad or mom. And in the security guards all gather around to have a conversation about your sneakers. And all of a sudden, my dad isn't the worst guy in the world now. Look at this. He's gathering respect. I mean, the amount of respect I got from Zoe from that trip to Detroit was something else. Conversations on the street. It was a whole thing. You guys missed it.
Wow.
But this installation, you should have been there. You could buy makeup, and then there was a inflatable tent that inside had the inspiration for the makeup, which were plants. What do you mean plants? Plants. Recreations of things that grow from the ground, encased in glass. That was what it was. It was probably about 50 feet by 100 feet. And you walked in there,
and you looked at the plants?
And there were plants. And then there were two cutouts of SZA. And you looked at the plants. And then you put it online that you were there.
No cost to get in.
No cost to get in.
All right,
but the makeup was, like, for a thing of lip gloss, there was 3 colors of lip gloss that you could buy. That was it. That was all you could buy there. It was these 3. Oh, they had T-shirts, but it didn't say SZA. It said the brand of makeup, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Not. It was called Not, because they're big Anthrax fans. And so, the Not guy that used to run around. So you buy those things. So that's done. And fast forward, we're going to the show.
Did you buy the lip gloss?
No, I told her you can't get any of that. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to this installation in Corktown, and I'm not going to give you the lip gloss.
How much was the lip gloss?
I can't remember. I could look on my phone. I'll tell you maybe next break. Too much for lip gloss, but it was what it was. It wasn't like $1,000, but it wasn't $100, but it was money. So you got to get to these shows early because if you don't, you can't get the merch. Now, why do people want merch, and why do they all buy the same 3 items, even though or the same 2 items, even though there's like 20 things for sale?
Yeah.
You buy those 2 items because that's what's on TikTok. I went, got inside. The gates opened at 5. Doors opened at 5. The show was supposed to start at 7. We got in at like 6, which is entirely too early for a show. But I knew my daughter wanted this merch before it ran out. The line, I get there, I see the merch table. I walk around the concourse at Ford Field. When I say that the line was 200 yards long, I am in no way exaggerating. The line was 200 yards long. So I get to the end of the line, and I'm like, what else am I going to do? Like, what, I want to see DJ Mustard or whoever the hell? I mean, it opens up with a DJ. It's just a DJ playing other people's songs. Like, what do I care? If they ran Chipotle like this, I mean, I was in that line for 15 minutes. I mean, the way that line moved, you wouldn't believe it. You think was going to complain. I got nothing but respect.
Okay, so how many people selling when you got to the top of the line? Like how many?
15.
Yeah, that's okay.
They were answering people's questions, and they were cool. Like they weren't like rushing you. They weren't dicks. I gotta tip my cap. The amount of money and well done, because you pay those people because the amount of money they make on that merch. 250-yard line, you run through that 15 minutes 10 times. I mean, you're talking about maybe $1 million in merchandise sold. So, I mean, the shirts are $50. The T-shirts are $50. They had some shirts $200. But she got the 2 shirts they wanted.
All those pure profit too. Those shirts cost them $4.
And they deliberately look like they were made at a fair. Like, I guess the thing is now, like, everything is supposed to look airbrushed.
Yeah.
So, like, that's like they look like you're in Key West.
Like spin art.
No, worse. Like, they make it like, you know those stands when you get off a cruise ship and all the garbage that have been on the Carnival cruise are there.
Right, sure.
Yeah. Like that's what they're supposed to look like. It takes no money to buy those. But I will give you a hint. They had been the girls now, I guess, wear shirts big. So Zoe was like, I want large. It's going to sag on me. And they're like, we have large in one, but we don't have large in the other. Like I said, only people just want these 2 shirts. The double extra large, which they ended up selling her, strangely the exact same size as the large. When you hold them up against each other, they are the exact same size. The exact same size.
Interesting.
So the show starts. We have good seats. Kendrick Lamar better enjoy this stadium show because he will not be playing them again. So the way it goes is Kendrick Lamar comes out. He does like 5 songs. Then SZA does 5 songs. Then they do something together, and it goes on. They go back and forth, which is smart. But it's 2.5 hours of nonstop. It's a lot. And it got to the point where when SZA was on stage, I'd say 90% of that crowd was for SZA, and I'm not exaggerating. If you wanted to know where the gay community was in Detroit, Michigan, I can tell you. She's obviously like a gay icon, because I would take it, because it was like a big thing. And it got to the point where when Kendrick Lamar was on stage, people were sitting. Jeez. And then when SZA got on stage, they would stand back up again. It's because he's such a technical rapper. And, like, he's a great rapper, like one of the great MCs of all time. But that speed rapping does not translate. And not a musician in sight. Not even, they had a guy come out and do a cheesy guitar solo on his knees. But I didn't see a band. There might even be a band there, but we were, like, kind of side stage but facing the stage. And there was an opening where stuff was going on that we couldn't even see into. And we were super close to the stage. So I don't know what to tell you about that.
Were you center?
No, because center is like that pit area. And, and my daughter's 5'5", and if I get in that pit with her, she's not going to be able to see anything.
I get it.
Even when there's chairs in the pit area, which there was in some cases at this show.
Doesn't matter. Everyone's standing anyway.
They're standing in, right. It's not like stadium seating.
Right.
When you're on the side of the stage, like we were... Yeah. Dude, these were as good as seats as you could have gotten. And
that in a lot of ways, that's the best place to be.
Well, no, because you have to, because it's stadium seating. So when she stands up, the person in front of her is like, she can see over them.
Yeah.
Because she's 5'5", right? Like, so it's hard. For a tall drink of water like me, I'm just in people's way. I don't have to worry about that at all.
Very tall, ladies.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Come and get it.
If you want feminine ballerina legs stuck to a... and then you got me. But there you go. It's if you're going somewhere to see it, Kendrick Lamar is not the show. It is definitely SZA.
Rap, hip hop, I would say 90% of it is so monumentally worse live than it is on the record.
Oh yeah, it almost as a rule. There are some exceptions to it, but almost to a rule. Like De La Soul, who are one of my favorite groups of all time, I saw live at a small venue because it was the MTV Video Music Awards before it, and they were really bad live.
Yeah.
All right, we will be back. Kenny Albert's calling the NHL Finals, and we will talk to him in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy. describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
And for Marchand, moving in on Skinner. Marchand is Pizzan, he scores! Marchand wins game 2 for the Panthers in double overtime.
Hey, it's been quite a Stanley Cup Finals. And, you know, everyone knows the NHL playoffs are the superior product over the NBA. And this has not been a disappointment this series. You have the best player in the NHL, and from a local you have the best team in the NHL against the best player in the NHL. You have
a lot of fun, a little bit of a scrap in the third period of the last game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A line brawl during a Stanley Cup Finals game. Don't see that.
You have Brad Marchand with game-winning goals and so on and so forth. And if you were watching this, you know that the NHL on TNT is broadcasting all of this. Kenny Albert is doing the games. Kenny Albert, hello, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. How are you?
We are very well. So when you're calling Stanley Cup Finals games, you're obviously anticipating a much larger audience than for normal NHL games. And I haven't noticed you doing this, but I'm just wondering, is there like a directive, or do you decide, like, how do you decide to explain what's going on in the game to people, right? Like, do you do it differently than if you're calling?
Explain something in layman's terms, for the fans who don't necessarily watch hockey all the time, but there's not that much of a difference, I think. We might explain a rule or why, a specific penalty was called in a certain situation, but it's probably not that much different from a regular season game or earlier in the playoffs.
Have you been surprised at all watching how this series has played out? Because these two teams obviously have some familiarity with each other, but seems like Edmonton might be falling into the trap of getting frustrated by Florida.
Something Bruins fans know very well.
It's like, we know what these guys are going to try and do. Don't let them get to you. And it looks like they're getting to them.
It's interesting to see how the series has played out to this point. And, there's a chance it's not even halfway over if it does go 7, which it did last year between these same teams. The first 2 games were, unbelievable as far as the atmosphere, the excitement, what took place on the ice. It was probably among the 2 best games a lot of us have ever been a part of and been in the building for. A lot of early goals, comebacks, late tying goals, overtime winners. And then the third game was the total opposite. It was, blowout 6-1, all the penalties that you guys were talking about in the third period. Edmonton, gives Florida 11 power plays. They couldn't stay out of the box. So when you talk about momentum, does one game carry over to the other, to the next? Well, certainly 2 didn't carry over to 3, and we'll see what happens with 3 to 4. But as far as your question in Edmonton kind of unraveling, it almost reminded me of Florida against Vegas 2 years ago. And the Florida players and coaches have talked about this just as far as their process in becoming a champion. Florida had won the President's Trophy in 22, and then the series you referenced, the comeback against the Bruins in 23. And then in the final that year, it was Florida that had a lot of injuries. Matthew Tkachuk couldn't even play in the last game. They took more penalties than they would have wanted to, some undisciplined. But Florida doesn't play like that anymore. They do play physical, obviously. They're in your face all the time, Bennett, Marchand. But they stay disciplined as far as the after the whistle and not taking the penalties. And Tkachuk even alluded to it the other day. He said, we don't feel old, but we're a veteran team. We're battle-tested through the playoffs the last few years. So, as far as Edmonton, we're going to head over and talk to the coaches on both sides today. And maybe the extra off day helped them. There were 2 days between games here in Florida, which is unusual. It's usually 1 day between games in each city and then 2 travel days. It's the opposite here. They have the 2 off days in Florida, only 1 travel day tomorrow. So, and they have some injuries. Nugent Hopkins is a question mark. He did play in game 3, but wasn't really effective. So it certainly appears, as if whatever the injury is affecting him. Their goaltender, Stuart Skinner, was pulled. Who will it be in game for tonight. So a lot of question marks over on the Edmonton side. Sounds like they might make a change on defense as well. So, we'll see what develops throughout the day.
You mentioned Sam Bennett being a physical force. I'm sure you are aware at 17 at the NHL Combine, he could not perform a single pull-up.
I have seen that.
Yes.
I read about that.
Yeah, show that in the broadcast. That's what my suggestion to you.
And in that photo, it looks like he's about 12 years old. No beard, no facial hair. Looks like a totally different person.
Well, that's the thing is that the NHL, they draft kids when they're 17 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like who the hell knows what you're going to become at 17 unless you're Connor McDavid? I mean,
Well, we had a couple of the prospects visited our booth the other day. James Higgins, who obviously plays collegiately in your area, Jake O'Brien, and, I remember, way back when I started and the players were around the same age, and now they're about 30 years younger. But, these kids who visited our booth the other day also looked kind of like Bennett did back then.
Explain what the atmosphere is like in Edmonton. And I say this because Canada's been starved for a Stanley Cup for 30 years now. And I've been told, having never been there, that Edmonton is electric to be in. What is your experience with that city?
It's a great atmosphere, and I have probably worked more games in Edmonton over the last 5 years than anywhere else. Aside,
don't rub it in. Don't rub it in.
Jesus, stop bragging.
I mean, Jesus, we get it. You live a high life.
I was about to get to the punchline. 34 to 35 of those games were in the bubble during the playoffs. During the COVID year. So it was an empty arena. There was nobody there. So the atmosphere was a little different in 2020. But anyway, no, it is a great atmosphere. We were there for the conference final in 22 and again last year. And there were fans in the building for those, so a lot different than my experience in 2020. It's a city that, obviously won 4 Stanley Cups with Gretzky and then another back in the 80s and then another one in 1990 after he left. So a great hockey history, tradition, all the retired numbers. Even though it's not the same arena that they played in, Rogers Place opened about 15, 20 years ago. It's right downtown. They have a terrific fan base, and it's a great atmosphere in the arena. And we can really feel it because our broadcast position is not all the way up in the very high press box in Edmonton, but we're on the concourse level, about 25 rows up. So you're right in the middle of it. You could feel it. The fans are loud. When Corey Perry tied that game 2 with 18 seconds left, that was among the loudest buildings that I've ever heard. So great atmosphere. We'll see what happens tonight. Will they be returning home 2-2, or will they be down 3-1 with the Stanley Cup in the building and the Panthers with an opportunity to potentially clinch on Saturday?
Do you think there's any way if Edmonton's down 3-1 that they can come back and win the series?
Well, you look at last year when they were down 3-0 and they won the next 3 and then wound up losing the series. So, with McDavid and Draisaitl, the best player in the world, and then I would put Draisaitl in the top 5. You never say never, but it would certainly be a challenge. A lot depends on the goaltending, and Bobrovsky's been brilliant throughout the series. Skinner's been really good, great at times throughout the playoffs, but struggled in Game 3. So it would certainly be a large hole to come back from, but, given what they did last year by winning Games 4, 5, and 6 with their backs against the wall facing elimination, you just never know.
Now, Kenny,
and also, you look at the first round this year, they were down 2-0 to Los Angeles and trailed in Game 3 and came back and obviously won that series, and here they are in the Cup final.
All right, well, Kenny Albert, Scott Zolak texted me and said to say hi. Is there a reason for that? Do you know him?
He's the best. I've gotten to know Scott, during the NFL trails over the years. We have some mutual friends, and always great seeing him whenever I have a Patriots game. And I know he's a big hockey fan.
It's funny because he's so bashful. I wonder how you even know he's around.
Does he steal
and
all
I remember, guys, just showing my age. I lived and worked in Maryland my first 5 years in Maryland, D.C., first 5 years. And I remember, when he was doing his thing for the Terps in College Park.
Yeah, and then you probably thought he was going to be a big star.
Yeah,
and now he was a huge name. He was a huge name down there at that point. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you got Boomer Esiason coming out of there. You got the Neil O'Donnell, and then you got Scott Zolak. I mean, it's just...
Well, Boomer's a good friend, so I've heard all about his exploits, and then Scott a couple of years later.
Yeah. It sounds like it was a real circus down there, I got to tell you. All right, well, listen. Kenny Albert, watch him tonight as the Stanley Cup Finals resumes over there in Florida. It's on the NHL on TNT. You're always doing a great job. It's been a great series. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks, so for listening.
All right, there you go. Scott Zolik, he listens to so he can contribute. I'm sorry I stepped on his big punchline.
Yeah.
The timing was all off. That's why I didn't like. I felt bad. I'm like, I stepped on his punchline, and then I was like, there's no punchline.
Well, I mean,
it's just a COVID joke.
Anything about the bubble, and I don't even want to think about it anymore.
Yeah,
I had forgotten about the. How many bubbles did they have for the NHL? Was it 2? There's one in Toronto, or no? Was it Toronto?
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was Toronto, and that was it. Or was there no? Well, it must have been Edmonton if he was there. So Toronto and Edmonton.
Worst.
Yeah, none of that counts.
Worst.
None of those titles count, by the way.
What about the Super Bowl? No fans.
I just remember Rask having to leave the bubble.
Was there? Wait, what? Was there no fans?
No fans at the Super Bowl.
None at all.
Like a handful.
We really handled that well as a
I don't think
country.
so. No, I think you're right. I think that
and I blocked
season,
all that stuff out. We handled that so well as a country. Good for us. Really, really, really admirable stuff. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented.
What you're thinking? What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on.
To say Travis Kelce was asked, and who do you think Travis Kelce picked, knowing that he is friends with multiple...
Bryson DeChambeau.
Knowing that he is friends with multiple professional golfers and world-class golfers. Who would Travis Kelce choose? It's a trick question. No one. I'm friends with too many of these guys to pick just one. Hoping for a great, epic weekend.
Well, Travis Kelce has one thing going for him that finally something that I admire is he, paparazzi follows him everywhere now, and they followed him like to a beach or something where he had his shirt off, and he has a very hairy back.
Oh.
And he was asked about it, and he said, "Yep." He owned it. He goes, "I have a very hairy back." They have some nickname for him. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I like that guy. I like what he said there. Now, do I like that he talks one way in some environments and an entirely other way? Like his whole accent changes, his whole way of speaking changes? No, it annoys me. But the idea that he is one of us that's inflicted with back hair and he has not gone the celebrity route and had it lasered off in some kind of procedure that only the people at the Met Gala get. And are aware of.
Make a little love.
Yeah, he talks like The Rock. Really
Kansas City.
Yeah, he does like a whole wrestling thing.
You kidding me?
But the thing is that he owned the back hair, and I have to give credit where credit is due. I thought he's one of us. You know, he's one of us inflicted with back hair.
Some of the other picks. Okay, here it is. The actual quote. Sliding into DMs is the name of the thing that they did here from the PGA Tour and U.S. Open Golf. Hey, Travis, who's your pick to win the U.S. Open? I have too many guys on the tour I'm rooting for to pick just one. Gonna be an epic weekend, though. THO exclamation point. I'm tuned in. Double exclamation point. Luke Combs said, I got to go with my guy JT. Blake Griffin said, give me Ludwig to the moon. Will Arnett says, it has to be Scotty. No? Or in Will Arnett's case, it has to be Scotty. No. Charlie Day, Fred, from your favorite television show of all time.
Yeah, one of them, sure.
Said Rocco Mediate, which was a...
There you go.
Rocco's what, 65 now?
Yeah, I don't think he's in the field.
No.
And whoever Taylor Fritz says it's got to be Scotty. So there you go.
I didn't even know the U.S. Open was happening today. You know, obviously I was out of town, but it did not even when Hardy. This is honestly true. When Hardy switched TV channels, I knew it was going to be to golf, and I sincerely asked him what tournament it was, and he couldn't have been more disgusted. Couldn't have been more disgusted. Because the only way I hear about these majors is by the radio. And I didn't listen to any radio while I was in Detroit. Because, I was with my daughter.
You don't
She was getting all my attention.
You don't check out you would find out over the weekend, though. You check out the major networks to see what games are on and stuff during the day on the weekends, don't you?
No, if we were in the hotel room... were we in the hotel room? If we were in the hotel room during an NHL finals or an NBA finals game, I might have put it on. But my daughter and I are watching Dawson's Creek right now.
Oh.
And it's the first season. It's Before I Want to Wait for Our Lives to Be Over is the theme song. And Pacey, by the way, is banging his teacher. He's 15. Did you remember that from Dawson's Creek?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Michelle Williams' character on that show lost her virginity when she was 12.
She's not at the beginning. She shows up.
It was a bad scene.
She shows up.
She's there in the first episode.
Oh, she is? Okay.
She comes into town in the first episode.
Oh, okay.
The love triangle is presented to us in the first episode.
Oh, okay.
But Pacey in the first episode meets the teacher that he had. They're very sloppy with their relationship. They really put it out there. Yeah, this is not the theme in the first season, unless Hulu doesn't have the rights to it or something, which I highly doubt. No.
So you're saying, you're in the first season, you're saying it's a different theme?
Yeah, it's like something else. It's not this.
It's like Happy Days. They used to use Rock Round the Clock or something from.
And then
Bill
they figured
Haley in his comments.
They figured, why are we paying for this when we can just make our own dumb song?
New Billy Idol documentary called Billy Idol Should Be Dead, where
I read his autobiography.
Well, he finds out that he has a souvenir from his tour in 1985. You know what the souvenir is?
No.
A son.
Hey!
Oh, who hasn't been there?
The discovery came to the musician through his daughter, Bonnie, who was given a DNA test for Christmas. The 35-year-old explained, "My husband just surprised me with a 23andMe." And he said, and then a few weeks later, I get the results back on the app and open. I'm like, oh, who is this? This is Brandt. And the info says he's like in New York, 1985, looking for his biological dad. I was like, what? They had no idea that there was another member of the Idol family out in the world. Billy told the documentary makers, I actually had a son that I didn't realize, who I fathered on the Rebel Yell tour without knowing it.
Wait a second. You're telling me, that was mean he was being promiscuous on the Rebel Yell tour.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of these musicians who's having sex with girls.
Brandt had spent his life completely in the dark. He believed someone else was his father.
Somewhere Dave Grohl says, why? Why couldn't this have been me?
Until he accessed his family history. And then Brandt expanded on the realization, saying, I was like, Mom, is there a chance Mark might not be my biological father? And she's like, well, it's pretty crazy, but back in the day, we broke up, and I actually spent a weekend with Billy Idol.
I wonder how Mark feels about all this. I wonder if Mark wants all that money back that he spent. Hachi Machi.
All the more reason. My son still wants to do a 23andMe. He wants to find out all the stuff that like Nick found out and did all that. I said, no, we're not doing that. Not finding out anything. And I tell him it's for, criminal profiling purposes. I said, I don't know who's out there looking for me or might be in the future. I said, what if I kill somebody someday? And I have a very good reason for doing it. And the only reason why they catch me is because you had to send away for his stupid 23andMe.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that.
Mine was so boring. It was just so boring. It was from two places, and like the relative thing was like I might have a second, third cousin. It was nonsense. I had nothing. And my dad, if you met him, you would think he had his choice of women. Like you would figure he had a huge run before he met my mom. I mean, at Dartmouth,
a real swordsman.
Yeah, Dartmouth back in the early '60s. Those New Hampshire girls, very promiscuous. My father, who voted for Nixon as a young man.
Oh, my God. He's pulling all the strange with that.
You want to talk about someone that was on the counterculture, riding the crest of counterculture.
A young Republican in the early 70s?
Come and get it.
I mean, let's get it. Early 70s. I mean, he didn't vote for Kennedy. He voted for Nixon over Kennedy.
Oh, 1960.
Yeah. My dad was 18. Yeah, wow. He voted for Nixon. Wow. My dad, John F. Kennedy, who, if you watch any documentary or hear anyone speak that was of my father's age, Kennedy was this. Now, obviously, my father, wanted him to succeed as a president. But my father, it's so funny, as an 18-year-old, you would think no one voted for Nixon based on it. Or if they did, it was like establishment people, like total racists in the South or whatever. But there was Fred Toucher Jr. sitting up there voting away for Nixon. All right. My mom voted for Kennedy, if it makes you feel better. That'll do it for us, everyone.